go, but I couldn't think of a better team to call out last here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is G2 Esports. And without further ado, welcome to the stage, G2 Esports! Now, it was just said that if you want to take out G2, well, you better do it right now. It's do or die for both of these teams. Ladies and gentlemen, North Carolina, let's bring the hype. Let's bring the energy. Come on, folks, get up, get loud. It's game day. It's your final match of the day. G2, TSM, let's throw down.
Hell of an intro, that's for sure. Golden Boy showing up, as is every single team here. We'll see if TSM can show up for North America's sake, that's for sure. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the analyst desk. I'm Rassan Mills, Dominic Finge. It's Zaronic, it's Rams back here. We started off the day, we're gonna end it together, boys. G2 TSM, let's go through this. Alex, G2, what's on your mind?
I mean, I think we can all agree this is the match we've been waiting for the day. G2, undisputed best team we've ever had in Siege history. They are, I mean, they have been rivaled yet. So I hope they get their stuff ready and show up.
And Rams, do you think TSM is finally that adversary they were looking for?
It's possible. The thing is about Team Bolomid, excuse me, TSM, is that they have yet to hit their potential cap.
Yeah.
We have seen them grow, and I don't think we're anywhere close to the level that they can actually play to, but it's going to take time, and no one's saying that they have to do it quickly. If it's not Merc getting tons of frags, if it's not achieved with his, C4s that do double damage and have twice the range as normal C4s, because you just get tons of C4s.
Or Pojo Man that has thermite charges that actually reach into the moon.
Right, exactly. They've just got so many things going for them, and this is definitely the most exciting match to play for the end of the day.
And here's the update on the roster, by the way, everybody watching at home. It's Pojo Man, Bio, Achieved, Bolo, and Merc. Everybody's been showing up here at TSM, as you said, have not hit their stride yet. This is their third international event. They're here, they're learning from it. It takes time.
We have seen them do some impressive things. They took on Rogue on Cafe in a very impressive showing. They've been steadily improving. I guess the scary thing is that G2 knows they're not at their top game right now, and that they also have to improve. So at least G2 knows what it is they're capable of. They've played these finals, they know how much pressure's on. This is the first major, right, for these guys.
It's quite a bit in terms of pressure to put on your back, and there's one player that's definitely defying the pressure more than most people here, and it's Merc for TSM with a 1.02 rating. Opening kill is not really going his way, but stabilizing alongside the team as much as humanly possible. Rams, you look at this, what really stands out when it comes to Merc as a player?
Well, TSM gives him the freedom to kind of play however he wants. He's that dynamic Jaeger main that is just absolutely all over the place, wins his gunfights when he needs to, and then even, puts a good night in chat sometimes.
It's literally Merc. I mean, mercenary basically is everywhere, and he does the job wherever needed.
Right.
There's an inspiration for a few people out there.
One thing I want to highlight real quick about another one of TSM's players. Biologics has improved so much over the time that he's been playing in Pro League, and I think that he's honestly the glue that keeps TSM together. He stepped up huge yesterday against MIBR on Villa. He was Dokkaebi, and he was running around getting frags, pushing his way into the site that, at just the right time to get the necessary kill onto the Echo, trying to stop the diffuser, that kind of stuff. And if he can step up the way he's been stepping up during the group stage, then they're going to really be a force to be reckoned with.
And that's what you require. You require proactive players, making sure that they're comfortable enough to do those plays. G2 are definitely a team that you can describe as literally the most proactive in the world. It's Goga, Fabian, Pengu, Kantoraketi, and Uno, Zeronic. Uno's been brought onto the team. I think he's been doing pretty darn well, don't you think?
Yeah, there's been a part of the community that's been a bit rough, but I think that happens every time there's a replacement on a big team. G2 is extremely happy with their change. He fits in. It's helped with chemistry. It takes a while, of course, to really get everything flowing and figuring out what his position is and how the team works with that. Because it's not just about squishing a player into a certain position, right? It has to work as a team thing. And that's where G2 shines. They've been setting and defining the meta for the longest time now.
You really have to allow your players to grow into the roles that they're so comfortable with. And I think G2 encompasses that more than any team in the world, as we've seen so far. Even with roster changes, even with rough times and online play, I have to say, you can play as terribly online as you want, but then when you win the Invitational pretty darn handily, I don't think anybody can kind of touch you at that point.
They have a team culture, and that's definitely LAN-minded, right? You can say whatever you want and meme as much about the saving strats.
Yeah.
But these guys play different on LAN, and it's a different person you see when they show up at LAN.
All right, well, we have our player to highlight here from G2, and it's our Finnish resident, one of the two, of course, Kantoraketi, a.k.a. the Carry Rocket. Rams, that's a 1.3 rating. That's a plus 19 kill death ratio. That's huge for an entry fragger.
Oh yeah, that's astronomical, especially from, they played two, Pengu said the group stage wasn't easy. They made it look easy, but that doesn't discount all the work that goes into making it look easy. When I was in the players lounge over the last few days, just taking notes and talking to players, I was obviously observing, the way teams interacted with each other, and G2 were always in their booth.
Yep.
They only would come out to eat and maybe talk, but they weren't playing ping pong, they weren't playing foosball. You know what they're playing? Siege.
Except for Fabian was playing strategy games.
Probably, who knows?
Know him too well. That's how we met, actually, because of that. Anyways, that aside, they're beautiful stories, right? I would like to remind everybody that, especially here at the Major, there will be signing sessions with every single team, meet and greets, and with talent, with the casters. So Valley Flame, Golden Boy, Kixen, and Taro are up in just half an hour here at the meet and greet. If you would like to say hello and take a look, tomorrow as well, and as we head into Sunday, goes the same. You can meet all of these players and everybody that works around here. But that aside, let's compare two top players on these teams, and we've got Achieved and Pengu. No Bolo versus Pengu. We'll leave that to Twitter analysts.
Alrighty, guys, welcome.
I mean,
let me know
again,
whether or not my voice is
Pengu's
unhearable because of
he's
the casters and the
Siege.
desk hosts.
I think everyone that has watched competitive
I'll
Siege
turn it down a
knows who he
bit
is.
when the game
And
starts.
he
That way you can hear my voice
this
predominantly.
good forever.
Since day one.
Yes. The stability behind this guy is insane.
Yeah, and then, like I said before, Achieved, so many opening frags,
All this intro
so many,
stuff,
just such
all
a
the
such
nice
a good
little
rating for
production
the amount
area.
of matches that they've played. He just always seems to get kills with the C4.
Sounds
Always.
good. Excellent.
How is he even allowed to do all of this? There
Now, I'm not
has to
entirely
be
sure
some
whether or
sort
not
of way
my
of
voice is
communicating
mixing with
effectively
everyone else
through
right
cameras
now,
and
but
such to get to that level.
Right, it definitely comes with the operators that are selected, and then on top of that, it's also due to the fact that
turn it down just a little bit.
Once you play a few rounds against him and he keeps getting those opening kills because teams try to push him, then they tend to leave him alone, which gives him the freedom and mobility to actually be able to get those kills when his team needs him to get them.
All right, so gentlemen, let's take a look at our map vetoes here. Remember, everybody watching at home or even here at the arena, this is, again, a best of 3. All our matches at this event are best of 3, including the group stage, except for the grand final. Best of 5, unlimited overtime on every single map. Start off with our ban, pick, ban decider.
Here we go, look at this.
Border removed. Consulate picked by TSM.
Wow.
So nothing,
okay.
You know what?
in the border ban, right?
Super
they've banned border 15
not
times.
surprising.
They've also banned Consulate 11 times. So them picking
Consulate has been picked by
stands out
TSM
quite a
because
lot there.
it's a map that
Villa will be the one for G2
that
after a map that they
did
definitely
struggle
shine
a
on.
little
I'm
bit, actually,
very weirded out by the
early
Consulate
on,
pick. We'll talk about that in a minute.
but it's a map that we
TSM
were also
banning
comfortable
Banquist
taking
leaves us
G2
with
on when I
only
was
2
with
at the end.
Penta.
Clubhouse
Villa
taken
being
away
picked
with
by G2,
Coastline
not a
as
surprise
decider.
that they would
So
pick
G2
that.
had
That's something that they
the
have been
advantage. They could pick either
strong
Coastline
on, except
or
for some of their pro
Clubhouse,
league,
and
they did have
Coastline
a little bit
is
of an issue on, I think, against
one
Team
of the,
Secret.
if not their
Abandoned
best
Bank
map.
also
They're definitely
not
comfortable playing on Coastline.
surprising.
Let's put it like that. They've had a
Clubhouse
few
ban.
LAN games
I mean,
with
if they had to
more
pick between
rounds than you'd
Clubhouse
ever
and
seen in any
Coastline,
other match.
G2's
Yeah,
gonna
and
pick
they definitely
Coastline 9
shine
times out of 10.
very well, even
One of
against
their
a team
best
like
maps,
Empire.
so super not surprised.
It's possible, right? So
Passes
let's talk
are
about
too loud, I
Consulate for
figure.
a minute. Let's talk about the pick at the beginning. Does this make sense for TSM to pick against G2?
Well, I mean,
Elephant in the room.
G2's banned Consulate 6 times and never played it. So normally what happens with G2 is if they ban a map this much and they don't play it, they're ready, right?
Listen to that.
They're waiting with this, and if they're going into a best of 5, they don't have to.
I
be
don't
that
believe
afraid
that.
of what maps
That's
they line
one
up,
thing I
'cause
haven't
they're gonna be
really ever
playing
strongly believed
5
is
maps.
that someone who
They
hides
could
a
be
map
playing
so
5 maps. So the picking ban
vehemently
there is a lot different.
that
This is where it matters.
they're
because
supposedly
making it to
hiding
the finals,
strats on it.
You have so many maps
I
to
so
pick.
strongly
You know,
doubt
one
that.
thing I want to add before
I
go to
definitely
you,
think it's a
Ramsey,
map that they would turn
last
around and go,
time,
hey, because we haven't
Consulate
played it,
was
we
a
should
big
make
deal
it our
that
map pool
G2 didn't
for
really play for a
an
long
event,
time. It was
100%,
a year
especially
ago.
something like
They
a major.
lost that map till Team
But
Liquid at Atlantic
there's
City
no
Finals
way
2018.
months
They
in
did not
advance
play
they
this
turn
map
around
for
and they
3
go, oh, well,
months
this is the
until
map that we're going to be
very
banning because
final
we're going to
game
pull
of
it
the
out
grand final
at the
against
major.
EG
It's not a
at Paris.
conversation that a
That was
team
the
has.
final map,
They
and they
use it as
absolutely
ammunition to
demolished
say no
EG
one
on
has a
it,
vote on
and
this,
that
so
was
let's
planned
make strats and
from
let's
day
make it our
one, the
major map
instant that
for
grand
this
final ended at
event.
Atlantic
But
City.
they did
So,
not turn
yes,
around
when
months
we
in
say
advance
G2 have
and
some
with
things
that
stuck
in
the
their
back of
mind.
their minds,
So
it's true. Rams, though, continue.
it's
please.
I just
it's
wanted
not
to point
plausible
out that TSM
to
also,
sort of
however,
state that.
has banned Consulate more 11 times. So
But at least have played it.
right, exactly.
And
that's
won it
true
3
too.
times, so the scary thing here is that G2's just banned it, you have nothing.
Yep.
You have no idea. At least with TSM, you know kind of what made them succeed in those rounds. And they've banned it a lot. Maybe that's because they've played against teams where they didn't want to play them on Consulate. Maybe they're trying to change stuff or hiding it, right? But I'd be terrified of G2 with a full map or a full ban on a map where they haven't played it.
But what made TSM so successful on Consulate in their 3 matchups that they ended up winning?
I mean, I'd have to attribute it to achieved in his C4s again. I know I keep harping on about it, but it's just that is one of those maps where you get a lot of C4
I'm not
kills.
sure who
And it stops the plant.
Rams.
It just ruins a lot of the attackers.
Like, I know who
pushes,
Rams
just
is, like
taking people
Infamy and
off
stuff like
one by
that,
one
but I just
from locations they're not
some of
ready
maybe
for.
he's
What
nervous,
I'm
but
really
his
looking for
analysis
is to
and
see
being on the
whether or not
analyst desk
G2
is not
actually
being
push
really
achieved
confident.
or whether or not they're going to
And he
play
said
like
really
the
vague
floor is
statements,
lava,
whereas an
trying to,
analyst
you know,
desk is
be in
there
areas
to
that they
make
won't be able to get
in-depth
C4.
statements.
We'll see how TSM
And
are
he
able
makes
to kind
really
of break
vague
the
statements
momentum of
about
G2 during
utility
a run, which is
or a
something
team's
that Nitro
push, and
Cells are very, very
I
good
feel
at.
like that's
Gentlemen, thank you very much for
made
your
him
words here.
lacking in
We'll be
his
back for
analysis,
more
so
as we
what a
get
shame.
started in this matchup. Our final game of day
I
number 1
do
here at the
think
Raleigh
G2
Major
will win
is
this.
G2 versus Team Solo
I
Mid.
I
Pango
want
versus
TSM
Bolo.
to win.
Everybody's ready for this, and I
but
hope you
yeah,
are.
I do
Casters,
think
Blue, Stokes,
G2
enjoy
will win
map
this.
number 1, Consulate.
All right, let's turn this down
Well,
just a little
thank
bit.
you very much, Stokes, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to move into our final matchup of the day. We've got quite an exciting lineup here. G2, the Kings of Siege in their current formation, going up against TSM, the last remaining hope for the home region here at the event. Stokes, what do we make of this?
It's TSM. We've seen them have a pretty competitive group stage, I would say, especially that last game that we casted up against MIBR, where apparently they just woke up all of a sudden. Apparently from earlier in their group stage, where we didn't see them do too well, Blue, but up against them versus TSM, very impressive stuff. But now TSM making it past MIBR to get to the main stage, they have to play against, well, I guess you got to call them the daddy of Siege at this point. It's G2. No matter who's on the roster, they find a will and a way to get through all of it. And for TSM, I feel like they really need to lean on what they've been able to accomplish so far, which is that more aggressive style, place people outside of the site.
A lot of people have
get
been
aggressive on
asking
every angle
why
you can,
EU is
try
such
to
a
fight for that
strong
map
region.
control. It seemed to work for
And
MIBR, but
I
can it
do
work
feel like
on
it's the
Consulate?
engagement and the
It's TSM,
diversity and the
it's
work that
G2.
you need to
It's
put
time to
in
start this
order
best
to
of
be able to
three.
be
All right, ladies and
taken
gentlemen, let's get into it.
seriously
It's our
in the
final
EU
matchup of the day.
scene
Let's make
is a
some
lot
noise,
higher.
'cause we're going into it. It's Consulate for our very first matchup. A map that necessarily in terms of G2 anyway, we haven't seen a whole lot of play for them in the past.
I'm
but for TSM,
very,
we've seen
very
quite some strength,
surprised
quite a
that if
few
G2
victorious
was
wins for them.
supposedly
Back at the
hiding
minor
strats on a
during
map
half
like
the lines, they did
Consulate,
quite
that they
well
would play
against
it
both LFO,
in
who is now the
this
Giants, along with Team Reciprocity.
final.
We have the bands coming out onto the board.
You
though.
would
First
save
one
it for
is
like
going to be knocked out by G2.
your
Doku
grand
will be
final.
eliminated from
Like,
the attack.
it's not a map you would pull out.
Will follow suit, and we've seen
A
him ban quite
Dokubi
few
ban
times in the group stages.
by
Actually banned roughly
G2,
80%
target
of
ban.
the time due to how
Capitao
effective
ban,
those
not
asphyxiation
surprising.
bolts from the
Heaps of
crossbow
NA
are.
teams
Those are
have been
smoke
banned
bolts.
in
They don't get
Capitao
ADS from
recently.
Jaeger,
Mirror
so
ban as
always
well.
useful tool to bring
That's
your
probably,
Capitao
I mean,
ban.
I've
Mirror
seen
will follow suit
G2
as
run some
well, and,
insane mirror
well, that
strats.
one's
There's
pretty
one that they run
Yep, we've seen that ban coming in for quite a while. The
where
utility
they
that
don't
Mirror
reinforce
provides
garage
for the
wall as
defending
well on
team is far
Consulate,
too
so
much for most
there's
teams to
been
wanna deal
things
with,
that
and it's
G2
basically
have
just been
been
standard
known to
meta
do,
for
and
better
that's
part
why
of a
you
year
would get
now.
rid of
So,
something like that.
teams will very
So-
rarely be deviating away from that. We'll have to see if that'll end up being the case for the rest of our two maps in the series as well. Echo being the final ban again, making sense. We've normally seen either Echo or Maestro due to that
The good thing
strong
about taking out
capability to
Dokubi as well
deny
is that you
plants,
also get to
especially when it
take
comes
away
down
a
to
set of
zero
smokes.
timer
It
plant,
means that
which
they've
we've
got to
been
run,
seeing
you know,
more
a
teams
Jackal, a
rely on
Monty,
as of late.
something
It's a
else
very
with
common
smoke
occurrence, and Echo
utilization.
means an instant win in that scenario.
And
So a lot of teams
it
don't wanna
doesn't
deal
look
with that.
like on their
They
current
immediately
lineup,
get rid
unless
of
they
it. We'll start out
6-pick,
in lobby,
that that's
actually,
what they're
which is
going to
a
do.
little bit more of a dangerous site to play on
The
just
6-pick
because
from a
the attacker will
bandit
have
to a
direct
rook,
access to it to the front door of the
super
building,
smart,
but this is starting to
super
become a more
intelligent.
common
You have a
trend amongst
bandit
lot of
on the
teams
line
as well.
with a
And I think
Kaid,
we're
and you
just
show
having
the other
G2
team,
testing
they're
the
going to think
waters
you're
here
going
early on
downstairs
against
first.
TSM.
Instead, they've decided to go lobby first, which is super unorthodox. It is not a traditional way to play Consulate whatsoever. In fact, it is a site that you would prefer to go to last, if at all. So, to see them go there first, they've definitely put their strategies together for this, but it's G2. Of course they've got strategies ready for every map.
So with both of
So 6
the
picking off the
operators there,
bandit
both
onto
Rook
a
and Doc
a
being
rook
brought
is a
into it.
super
Brothers
intelligent
Arms
bait
here had quite a bit of
to
range
make them think
capability,
that
which
you were
does
going
make you think
downstairs.
about what exactly we're going to see G2 strategy
And
be
that's why you
if
sort of
they're
see the
indeed going to
Thatcher
try to get
Thermite
into the
on the
faces of TSM
TSM
and mess
side,
them up right from
because
the
they
very
were
start of
very
this
much
round,
prepared
or
for the
something
fact that it
different
was
may
probably going to be
potentially be in the
downstairs.
cards for them. As for our attackers, we need to see them come out strong.
A lot of people
Players
have been
like
asking
Merc
about the
have hit or
viability of
miss in
Mozzie as
matches,
well.
and
He's
they
a great
put to rely
operator.
on Merc quite heavily
His
in
ability
order
to
make
steal
impact
drones,
early on in
utilize
these
them,
rounds, and entry in some
his
cases.
weapons are
Mega
good.
shifted him away from that over the course of the group stage, though, due to his shaky
That's why you
performance, so
see
we
them
need to
running
see
him as
step
well.
up, and as you can see, he's taken on that Ash, so we're still going to look to him as being the front runner for this team when entering the building.
Yeah, something we haven't seen from Merc so far is he's either a 0 or a 100 player.
Yeah,
He
as
either
you would
completely ruins
expect,
the other team,
there's a
or
little bit of
he
top
hasn't even
floor
been in the
hold,
server.
but there's not
Luckily, TSM was able to
a
find
lot.
way through
And this
that
is a
on
surprising
Villa
strategy
against
because it
MIBR,
does
but
mean
they're
that
definitely going to want him
G2
for this G2 game. He has to be
closing
awake.
off the
He has to
hatches
get in these
upstairs
frags that they need
is
so
super
badly in order to try
unorthodox
and
for a lobby
find their way
hold.
through this
There is so
forest.
much
Bit of
unorthodox
a slow start here. You can tell TSM is aware
multifaceted
of
areas
the
of this
danger of trying to
strategy
take
that they're
control, but
employing.
you can see they've already moved in and gotten decent control over admin.
And
Quite a
Bolo
few
barely
drones
misses
the
out on
field
that
for
kill,
them too, to
actually.
start maneuvering forward.
Running across there
A
is
slight
super
toll being
dangerous.
taken here now on the top floor. Bolo
But they've
trying to
reinforced the
knock out one of
hatches
members of
over
G2 on the
projector
other
and,
side of
and,
the table,
and the
but
meeting
not
area,
able to
and
find it.
they've
Still plenty of time,
kaided
though,
them.
only a minute into the opening
And
round.
that just simply means that to be able to take top floor, you would have to
damage has been
also
done
be
yet
able
to
to open the
anyone.
hatches. So
TSM taking
they're
the
actually
time
kind of
coming
set up for this,
upstairs,
even though they
and
didn't
taking a little
intend
bit
to be
longer
set
as
up
we
for
do still
this.
see some drones
The
rotating
top floor
around
hold
on
is
the top
actually
level
quite
as the
weak.
Chief is focusing
There's
his
not a
sights
lot
on
of factors
projector.
to it.
Merc currently
G2
battling
have
for
invested
flight
quite a
hallway,
lot
but
of
there's no one home as
reinforcements for the
Bandit actually
hatches,
is
one
upstairs
wall for connector. But other than that, it's really lacking. And Uno...
About a minute and a half remaining here. We need to start see the
Uno seems to be the only deciding factor inside Piano. And now TSM are able to get the plant down. If they had vertical holes above them, this wouldn't happen. And the only reason they're able to stop that plant is because they all had to peek. Ooh. Wow, good shot.
Dealing with that issue, but now it's all on Merc upstairs and Biologic trying to wrap around. And Goga, he's already on the counter defuse, trying to spam through on a hard ping. Fabian, though, is going to be able to take out Bio. Pingo finishes off Merc, and there we go. G2 shut it down on the retake.
I think after watching that round, of which I was quite confused from sort of the start to the end, I wouldn't say it was my favorite strategy. I was definitely intrigued by it, but the fact that they reinforced the hatches, kite-ed them, and then held all the way from console was a good strategy. But it also left a lot to be desired because you essentially, if someone was to run in like they tried to do, TSM had the right idea. If someone was actually holding the long angle outside those lobby doors there, then there's no possible way that they could have stopped the plant because there was no vertical holes above, no way to stop it. Someone, if you had a C4, had to peek out of bathroom, or you had to peek down the bottom of statue spiral. And if anyone was properly holding those lines of sight from TSM, if they had properly waited for everyone to rotate for the plant and push the way that they were meant to, then that plant would have gotten down super safely and people on G2 would have been knocked out as they tried to deny that plant. So I don't think it's a very successful strategy. The only reason it was successful is because TSM didn't appropriately, I guess, communicate that rotate that they needed to communicate. There was no vertical holes above or ways for them to hold. You could have just had Merc sit on spiral and wait from long desk. If anyone rotated to stop the plant from above, he could have stopped them himself and then rotated everyone else to watch lines aside. So I think that was literally the only reason G2 got away with that.
A lot of teams have started lobby
now that they're going downstairs, TSM running exactly the same lineup. In fact, they might run that on every side. It might be something that they've sort of set up to go, hey, this is what we're going to run on every side. And it's not that bad. Hard Breacher is pretty well viable on every side, especially if you got G2 reinforcing hatches on lobby.
Now jumping into round 2, they will be facing the downstairs area. It's a cafeteria and garage.
The utilization of Alibi is an interesting one too. It makes me think that G2 wants to be aggressive. So if anyone does try and clear them upstairs and shoots an Alibi, that they want to try and use that ping to push really aggressively.
Storm, the gadget, of course, on her not being utilized too much just for its actual utility, more so the flexibility that she can bring. Currently on the yellow stairs right now, you see her.
This hold from Goga is really important as well. If he doesn't do this right, he could get into a lot of trouble. Kenta Raketti, I believe, is holding piano from upstairs with vertical holes as well, which is a super safe way of doing it.
Maybe it's not as big of a deal as I originally thought.
Well, Pengu's still holding down.
And in fact, he decided to peek from there, which is very much reminiscent of Kanto's playstyle. I would expect him to probably do a few more jump outs.
Upstairs that Kanto can drop down and help Pengu once he gets into trouble.
At the moment for TSM, because this is probably a pretty predictable hold, other than the fact that you've got multiple people up in console area / piano, TSM now, because they've already committed to a straight-up garage push, need to either commit to that and make it work and hold angles and wait for the rotates down, because they don't have time to rotate up. And look at that. Unfortunately for TSM, what happened there was they had the ability to be able to probably get the plant down, or at least bait getting the plant down, hold angles, and wait for peaks. But instead they stalled out, so it allowed guys like Uno and Kenta Raketti to run around the map and peek from windows left, right, and center. And what I think it is that TSM is maybe being a little bit timid against the force that is G2, and they got the garage wall open. They had everything set. All they needed to do was have someone watch top windows, someone watch yellow, one watch right van, and another watch pipes, and attempt to get the plant down at the same time. Now, unfortunately, they waited and they waited. Vertical holes were opened up by Pengu above. Hatch was open in bathroom. If they wanted to get that down right, they needed to have had someone to either challenge or hold angles on the person from above, or they needed to bait it out somehow. And unfortunately for TSM, G2 held that very well, and they had people running around freely everywhere.
and G2 will now head upstairs to complete the third point.
A mix of verticality and strong roam presence and an inability for TSM to deal with that led to their loss to that round as well.
And this is just extremely scary already by G2, and again, this is their first match. They've waited all day.
Now, of course, they know that having one lobby, having one downstairs, the place that they're going to go is upstairs. So no need to bring a thermite for upstairs.
The actual match, but to see them so dominant already coming out on Consulate, especially when it's TSM's pick, it's definitely something that is a focal point right now.
But otherwise, a pretty similar lineup, except for the fact that they've brought the IQ, which is a really smart move because you've got Uno on Valkyrie, and that's a really important factor for G2 to be as aggressive as they are, is to have intel as well. So to have that intel denial from the IQ is going to be super important, and Merc needs to make sure that he's finding every single one of them, otherwise he's going to be at a huge detriment, or he's going to put his entire team at a huge detriment.
Players repelling up the windows now, try and swing it. They've been able to drone it out, so Bolo is going to work his way in as the first player to set foot into the building.
What I do like, however, is that TSM is making sure that they're taking sectional control really quickly. So if they know it's clear, they get in and they make sure they get stuff done. And that's why you see Bolo so confidently taking admin, because he knows, I need to get in, I need to destroy the camera with a breaching charge, I need to open the hatch, and I need to open a line of sight above the rotate below on Visa stairs. And that's his job, and that's a step-by-step process, and he's able to do that in the first minute and a half, and he needs to continue that. And look at that, Pengu's already wasted one smoke babe, so they're doing a really good job at it, and they now just need to be able to waste a little bit more.
The unfortunate thing for TSM, though, is that it's going to be so difficult for them to try and tear apart G2's setup, because ultimately, they can't really know that much about it. A nade going in, it is going to finish off Pengu.
And that's an easy kill for Achieved. I mean, once that ADS is cooked and you throw a nade in there or you impact that shield, you're almost guaranteed to kill the smoke on mute behind there. So, and Uno gets picked. And you know what? They still have Valve cams up, which is such a shame that Merc wasn't able to find that, because it's as soon as you see a window open, you're able to tell almost indefinitely which direction a Valve cam's being thrown out. The jump out from Goga, I argue, probably wasn't necessary. With the plant going down, Merc in a great planting position to cover. Unfortunate for whiff shots, but what I liked there from TSM is that, like I said, Bolo took control of admin very fast, very well. He knew what he had to do with these breaching charges, and he did it very quickly. And they made sure they got rid of utility as necessary. But I think that the Maestro cam stayed up a little too long. Bio repelling on console was a great pinch effect as well to cut off rotates. Achieve did his job as well, making sure that he got rid of the individual behind the shield, because that's a key position on that side. That confused me though. The Thatcher was downstairs trying to make sure that there was no one sort of flanking up yellow and everything, but he could have done that from that position to begin with. Instead, he sort of ran through garage, which is a dangerous way of doing it. Even though he got the job done, he probably could have held that from Bravo himself and then leapt in through that window, rather than running all the way around through garage and giving himself the opportunity to be heard far too easily. Again though, G2 favoring the lobby side. Something that everyone's going to turn around and say, wow, how unorthodox. They were definitely saving strats. But I do want to remind everyone that you can create strats on any site. Back when I was with Penta, we used to love Tower on Oregon, for example. A lot of people hated that site. But you can create strategies on any side and make them favorable, especially if there's no known meta or counters known to that particular strategy or that particular setup. So for G2 to make that their setup, and they've thrown it out in the deep end now. So if they make it past this matchup with TSM, and they go on Consulate again, it's going to be very obvious and telling of them. They might just change their strategies back to what we would consider a meta hold.
In these very important roles. There's a bit of a risk here for TSM. Obviously, again, though, that's a bit bold to assume that they would be willing to swap roles in the middle of the tournament. So they'll have to keep them on that for now.
I really like what TSM is doing right now. They're clearing the downstairs because Nitro cells are so important.
An important part of holding lobby is these spiral stairs as well. And the fact that Merc pushed by himself there without a refrag opportunity, and then Bolo pushing up by himself straight after, the pushes are not coordinated effectively. And that means that, unfortunately, TSM aren't able to get the refrags that they're looking for. Bolo had the right idea to go up afterwards and try and get the refrag, but he didn't time it correctly, and he should have known to back off. And at the moment, all G2 needs to do is to have a particular setup, hold angles, and they're just winning based off pure gunfights. So it doesn't allow, at least me, watching this now live, to be able to go, okay, their hold is particularly good because of this setup or this aspect or this. Not particularly. It's due to the way that TSM are pushing it, and pushing in rather odd fashions.
Especially against these younger teams and newer setups where TSM
great shot from Uno there.
has only been together for just about 3 months. It's typically pretty easy to work your way around them with flexibility.
Great shot.
It appears that G2 is doing that.
If I was TSM right now, I'd be sitting there going, okay, guys, there's at least 2 of the members of G2 which are hyper aggressive in the way that they're playing. Others on the team, like Fabian, etc., they're a little bit more reserved with the way that they play. They still will engage, but they won't push themselves into really risky positions. So the people who are peaking really riskily, or who are taking big risks, we need to start baiting them out. We need to start pushing them together and crossfire. Instead, they're pushing people too far away from each other to refrag, and they're not able to have the impact or the impactful kills that they need to. And instead, now G2's picking them off.
But there's so many that you have to be concerned with.
And not giving TSM any opportunity to be able to push in packs.
Now you just have to play Russian roulette with windows and really, really hope that you don't get shot in your face.
It's a very deceiving game that Siege can often be. In just a second here, though, the attackers are going to be let out once again. They have now spawned, and for the second time this half,
I wouldn't say, again, there's anything too unorthodox about the way that G2 set this up now. I would say that they're pretty happy with how those first set of rounds went. And they're going back downstairs now. They're pretty comfortable with the fact that they could probably run pretty well the same setup. What they've decided to do now, TSM, is adapt. Okay, they roam pretty damn heavy. Let's clear it. The trouble with what they're doing is they've split themselves thin again. So they go, all right, I want a couple of people in admin. I want us to find the person who's upstairs. There's the ping. Bolo's going to go in projector. But again, they're just a tad too far away from each other. So if Bolo gets picked off, no one's close enough to refrag on him. And there we go. Bio is going to get taken out by Uno, who was trying to watch the crossfire, and as they ran down, he was doing the right thing. But they've missed out on the opportunity to clear the person on ping. If you want to spread yourself thin, you have to do it in a pinch formation. That meant that they had to have someone repelling console, not projector. And when the drone went in, they should have waited and had someone repel up. Instead, they let him default down yellow, and they were able to get a pick onto Bio as he was trying to hold the rotate out of top floor. Again, another pick. I believe that was a vertical pick as well onto Pojo, but no refrag. And this is a key issue that a lot of teams have, is that they're not in positions to refrag each other, and that's a huge issue for TSM right now in these past few rounds, is that they haven't been able to find a way to position themselves together as a team on this map to make an effective refrag. If there were refrags, these rounds would be a heck of a lot closer, obviously. But look at this, a lot of TSM are holding the same angles. They're peeking, they're face checking, they're holding the same angles, and they look a little bit confused. Even though they might have
Not really any
attack
execute
strategies.
observation here either. Merc, of course, on a Jackal is
They
gonna be great for
definitely
an
are
early
not
round, but
executing them in the
somewhat
way that
limited
they
effectiveness
need to
going
be
into
as a
late
team.
round, unless he's
These
going
are
to get
very
lucky with the
excellent
footsteps of a
and
player
capable
recently
players.
rotated. Pengu as well establishes an angle through the floorboards there to try and knock out one
Very,
opponent, but is not going to find it. Uno picks
very
up a kill.
odd
G
to me
from
as
the
well
attacking side will be able to
that
trade, but
they
now he's
had
limited.
so much
Also with less than
vertical
30 seconds left here to push in.
pressure
Not much hope. Uno
applied,
with one more peek.
or sorry,
Finishes
they
things
had the
off for G2 and
capability to
continue
apply so much
excel
vertical
with a
pressure.
4-1 lead.
They had the buck
They
alive
have
the
to find a
entire
way in order
round,
to get some information
and they
out of
weren't
Alexis. I don't know whether
able
it's
to
prep drills
provide
right now
enough
for
pressure
TSM that
to
just
push
aren't
out someone
working out, they're
who
being
was
fouled or
on
what have you,
Garage Wall.
but they have to have
In fact, they weren't able to
information
make
on that mid-level.
almost
If they
any
don't,
pressure
otherwise this is just going
on
to
the
continue
actual
to
side
happen
itself.
to them on this defensive
The
side.
people
We
who were
only have one more
roaming
defensive
were able
round,
to
so they only have
dance
one more
around them,
crack at
take
it,
the picks,
unless
no
we get to
refrags,
overtime,
and then when it came
right
down
now
to them
is
all
not
defaulting
looking
back
like
to
it's
side
going
and
to
rotating
happen,
back,
unless TSM is
then
just
there was
absolutely
not enough
gods on
vertical
defense.
pressure
Yeah,
applied
once they've
above
got
for
some
them to
crazy
even make
stuff
an
prepared for the
impact.
defense. I mean, the attack, unfortunately, not looking like much can come from it
And you
at
can
this
see
point.
the holes
And
there. You can
G2's
see that they've
early
tried
round
to make some
aggressiveness is
vertical
just far
holes,
too much for TSM
but
to
they
deal with, and
weren't
that's what
done
we're starting to
correctly. They
see.
weren't
They'll
done in the
continue to
order
peel
that you
that
would
pressure back
usually
in the late round,
expect
hunker down on the site, and
breach
unfortunately,
and
TSM's
soft
execute
breach to
capability has
occur,
also been lacking here when it comes
especially
to the
on a
late round. We've
site
only
like
seen one
Garage.
successful plant from them so far in the entire half. So it's hard to bargain that they can even come back from these disadvantaged 3v5s.
I will say,
whatever
however,
number disadvantage
that
they have always sat at
a
in
map like
practice.
Consulate can be really defender-sided, depending on the type of team you're going up against. It kind of promotes aggressivity, especially when you've got Valkyrie on the board, you've got Intel, you've got players who are very capable at peeking. There's a lot of windows, there's a lot of open lines of sight. So it's not surprising to me that G2 are able to have the kind of defensive impact that they are having at the moment.
Instead of having your eyes on the prize, but not having the list in order to achieve what you want to get done. Because right now, that's really what it seems like. They have a general
That mute jammer that's down in Garage, that just blocks yellow stairs from having a drone go up on it. So that's why you saw Pengu placing that mute jammer there.
All right, now we're progressing towards Spiral. We have Spiral control. What can we do with Spiral control? Okay, we can pressure benches as well as lobby. If we get a
I love having all these perspectives. It's a great new production method.
As it is upstairs, you're more than likely going to be seeing
Again, Bolo is going to hop in here, place one breach charge over the camera, one breach charge over the hatch, and one breach charge over Visa stairs so that someone can watch the flank. It is methodical, it is key, it is a routine that as a pro player you must get yourself into. Step-by-step process. So you'll see him go into here, he'll open the hatch, he'll place it over the camera as well, and he'll watch the flank. It's systematic, and I like it, and it's a player who knows what their role is in the team.
This has been a player that was quintessential in winning their group stage games when players like Merc were
clockwork.
lagging behind. And again, Merc, he showed up every few rounds here, but again, he's not finding anywhere close to that impact in some of the tournaments we've been seeing in the online sectors, such as USN and even stuff like
Again, all Achieved needs to do is to get rid of Pengu, who is sitting in meeting. They've droned him multiple times. They know he's there. They need to cook the ADS. And you can see Cantor Raketti in the shadow. Oh god, these peaks, these absolute peaks. Pengu's actually just going to tank the damage to get his position on that window, and that's a big commitment.
Too far, so he stays alive in position on the site right now. Biologic finally picks up another trade in TSM's favor and is going to be able to knock out the.
You can see all the blue outlines so spread out at the moment. That's a huge worry, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this meeting control. And if you want to get control of meeting like that, you need runouts held, you need multiple people holding lines of sight down long, you need someone assisting from Visa stairs to make sure that no one comes up, watching the flank. I mean, there's so much that you need to focus on to get a meeting, get meeting control, that it's very surprising to me. I see so many blue outlines spread out. See, like, Fabian should have, on long desk, died a heck of a lot earlier. Oh, what a shot. And what a refrag there, instantaneous. What I think TSM lacks there is, because what I would say is that G2 aren't doing amazing strategies. I would say they're doing pretty
than most teams.
Now, after I've seen, obviously, their lobby holds and whatnot, which are pretty unconventional, and now they're doing pretty conventional type holds. And TSM are not coordinating their players well enough to have the effect that they're capable of having. You can see the gun skill on some of them. You can see Pojamin thinking about all the runouts and being there to hold them. But no one's coordinating themselves. It's as if whoever, oh god, that shot as well, my goodness. I mean, if you die to that, that's just unluck at that point. But they also keep dying to people peeking outside. And that's something that you have got to be aware of. See Fabian there in middle desk? I mean, people should have already been holding lines of sight when that plant goes down. There should be individuals on the team who go, are you ready? Are you holding this line? Are you ready here? Are you ready here? Are you watching the jump out here? Are you watching the peak on me as I plant? Yes, we're already, okay, 3, 2, 1, I'm planting. And instead, people are jumping in from TSM to plant, and there are multiple people, and you can see their outlines, who are not quite in the position they need to be to hold the plant to getting the plant down, because at the end of the day, that is the goal. The objective is the goal, and that's what they need to be focusing on. And so now, you can see that TSM is being able to take advantage of some of the weaker sides of G2, or some of the sides which they're playing, I would say, more typical meta on. But it's out of things like gun skill, it's out of picks.
From LATAM, and Rec was always like that, all the way back to C9. C9, they were a little bit more rigid, but they still had those plays where you saw people get overly aggressive, and it worked out, which is fine. But going into Rec, yes, I would definitely agree with you. They're a lot more flexible, a lot more aggressive for sure, but I would have to say that's more or less just high school comparative to a PhD.
I do want to commend G2 on their lobby hold, however, because they'd obviously analyzed the fact that they do want to hold top floor and that the meta is to take top floor in order to take lobby effectively. But TSM read it well. They did. They read the fact that they could just go in and plant. There's no vertical holes above. Just go in and plant. They just didn't have the coordination. And I think when people watch like teams, they don't see when someone does something well, but it doesn't work out. Because it doesn't work out, they think they didn't do it well. TSM did that well, that lobby take. They did that well. They just didn't have the people there to make it what it should have been.
So if TSM can even mimic those same results as G2, then more or less we will be going to overtime for this one. But again, G2 on offense, especially on Consulate.
Now, what I don't like about this right now is Bolo setting himself up for a bandit trick. Now, that's super dangerous because, one, I don't see anyone there to help him watch his yellow stairs. Maybe there is someone positioned there, we just didn't get to see from this perspective.
This is a lot newer for a lot of people to be seeing these two names.
Again, you can kind of understand.
And you've got Merc and Achieved running around upstairs as well.
Isn't it always a trap, though? It's always a trap.
One thing I do want to press is that if you're a roamer on a team and you're sort of pushing yourself around the map, you do not need to run around as much. If you want to hold a room, hold it with a roaming buddy, and hold a crossfire together. You do not need to make so much noise. You do not need to run around because, like that, you will get picked off. And where's the refrag? Not there. It's close. The refrag's close, but Achieved was down on Visa stairs, so of course he was not close enough to hold a crossfire on the people pushing. Had they just held in the room, then they would have been able to do it. Instead, Bolo rotates up Spyro, where he should have been earlier to assist his teammates. And they could have done a triple roam or a double roam with a flex nearby. And okay, the refrag happens, but it's at a huge cost to the TSM lineup. And now, G2 has over a minute left.
Now working on the bathroom player, good patience from Pengu. He's going to end up taking the load of damage here. Thankfully, it's not all that much. Only ends up losing about 25 HP. Still 75 left to be eliminated.
They've done good time wasting, but they're being so overly aggressive right now when they've lost numbers. And I'm not sure who it is on Spiral Stairs. It's Achieved. That low health, and he wants to try and peek. They're not coordinating themselves again, and this time on defense. The refrag issue is a massive issue, and it affects a heck of a lot of teams. And it's affecting TSM right now. This is the kind of vertical play I was talking about that Uno's actually doing that TSM didn't do properly. There's certain lines of sight that you should open up above. That's one as well. And that's a team that's very proficient. And that shot onto Goga by Achieved using that shield, that's so ingenious. That's a good one. They still have smokes, 5 seconds left. That's insane that they were able to come out with that. That's amazing. And the TSM players on site, I'm assuming Pojamin was one of them, being so patient, not over peaking. Literally, they probably just sat there the entire round on cams, let's be honest. Amazing patience from the support players of TSM there. And G2 just taking too long to deal with the roamers, even though the roamers were so spread out. You see that, you see Merc just out in the open. It's not something you should do. Had G2 had even partially better drone work, they would have been shut down very quickly. It was rather lucky for TSM that they were able to get Achieved out alive. It may have been very different had he have not gotten out alive.
He needs to try and not contest that early on without any help. We saw damage come through from Achieved at the top of admin stairs, but oh, he's an element. That's sad. I'm sorry for you, friend.
The fact that this is such a close game in rounds is not really reminiscent of what we're seeing in the rounds. I felt like the defensive stride of G2 took the better of TSM and their inability to host things like trades, and you see there the stat on the side, TSM has struggled to win their opening fights. They trailed 1-6 in entry kills. And it's that aspect of making sure you've got a hot drone, making sure you've got multiple people there to pinch a roamer. And that's why G2 is so good at it, because they have their roamers set up in 1 to 2 rooms holding each other's crossfire, and they don't deviate from that. They are confident. This is the room I want to hold, this is the line of sight I want to hold, and I'm going to hold it. And they do it that way. And TSM could learn a lot from the way that G2 poises themselves, especially in a hard roam situation.
They haven't played it very often. They haven't lost on it, but they've banned it out quite a bit, as we were talking about earlier.
Look at this. The way that Pengu's holding these jump outs. I know Pojamin, I believe, was also one of the people who was holding jump outs on the side of TSM, but the way that Pengu's so systematically sitting there watching this, absolutely certain that there is going to be some aggressivity from TSM. And even if there wasn't going to be, that kind of hold, putting one person there could save multiple people's, especially important operators with utility and their lives.
And after it's over, no more spamming marks, but it makes it very easy for offenses like G2s to be able to shoot you through the wall.
Looking at this setup, having a Mozzie in projector, I'm not sure about that. This nade should clean him up pretty quickly. And he takes only partial damage. Okay, that nade must have been much more shallow than it appeared. And see, that's why Pengu's out there. He's here to watch the jump outs. Wasted nades from Uno might actually mean that TSM win this round, even though they're one person down. Now G2 have to rely entirely on frags. And as I say that, Mozzie dropped. Oh, they gave up meeting? No, TSM, no. Merc, buddy. Like everyone is poised upstairs. He whips out the super shorty, but can't find anything. Oh, it's that decision-making skill which is so upsetting to see, because his team was in a really good position if he had just held that.
Still stretching their legs.
He could have also had Bolo on the ACOG holding across from Bathroom through over the top of his shield.
Significant to the entry potential there for G2 and making sure that he got into the site. He's the one that found that nice pick when they finally
That's a
pushed it
real
with Vector.
shame there.
It allowed for them to get the plant. They were struggling for so long.
That shows
Seeing
the
how the
difference
TSM
between
had been
a
into the
Titan
pressure,
like
tried to
G2
move,
and a
get
younger
aggressive,
team like
quickly
TSM.
grab some intel.
Is
Thought
someone like
quite a few
Pengu, for
players being
example,
traded
would
down.
have,
G2
and
definitely
you
seems
saw
a more
him,
patient
would
team
have
at this
sat
point,
there
and
and
they've been
died,
rewarded with the
holding and
confirmation of their
protecting
lead
that room
5
rather
to
than
3.
drop off.
Especially for G2's sake.
If you're going to drop off, at least be underneath with a
C4
C4 to deny the plant.
Switch over to a much more methodical offense, which allows
But
you
even
to
still,
outplay aggressive players when
the
they-
decision-making
more or less, we call them freebies,
skills
because when
there
somebody gets aggressive,
were
especially
not
when
strong,
sprinting through a door or
because you
trying
have
quickly
to
take a gunfight,
you have to be
you're
willing
already
to give up your
ADS, you're just
life
waiting, so
to
you have a lot
hold
better chance
certain
on winning that gunfight,
sections
plus
of
obviously they
maps
have the
and
info on you,
sites.
they can get the
Otherwise,
pre-fire
you're pretty
or
much
something along
giving
those
up
lines.
the
But
site
for
and the
most
plant
part, when you're
for
playing
the enemy
against
team, and
someone
you
that's
might as well call
extremely
it quits
aggressive
there.
and likes to try and fight back,
So if you're going to have
patience
Merc or
can
you're going to have the
definitely be a
Mozzie
virtue, and it can
play
help you
in
out quite a
meeting
bit.
like that, then you're going to
To our next round we go.
want to freaking hope
TSM are
he
going to attempt
he puts
to hold
his
the upstairs site
entire
if they
life
can.
on the line,
The
holding
upper
that and
is
making
also
sure
going
that
to
that's
remain quite
his.
similar, if not exactly the same.
If you don't, then you better find a damn other way to make sure that you can deny the people running in there and holding their angles. And the only other way to do that would be to have vertical holes for underneath, or to have multiple C4s underneath. Because you might kill one of the planters, but then another one will show up and take over.
As intel, be able to push aggressively from the defensive side, not something that the defenders often get.
That round,
To that type of tool with
after
Operator.
they'd wasted both of their nades and they were unsuccessful, I would have thought should have gone the way of TSM. And that's when you know something's going terribly wrong.
He has everything you could possibly want inside of a kit: 2 armor, 2 speed, nitro cell, extremely nice secondary shotgun, 2 SMGs that are really whatever the flavor of the month is. It can either be
G2 on the other hand, I think Uno did the right thing with the grenades. I don't think he was, you know, lazy with them at all. Again, I like Merc as a player. I think he does some nutty things. But when you go up against a team like G2, you can't just YOLO peek. I'm going to call it YOLO peek. You can't just YOLO peek. I don't think Merc's been refragged properly once, because he's never been in a position. And in fact, I think he's been the opening kill for G2 9 times out of 10.
Assumably those would have been put in the same position, so they still have the access to the cameras
So
to them.
if you're having that much
Continue their push with plenty of
failure
time now in a
in your
4-3
role,
with the loss of Uno, they are still in good hands right now. Pengu moving in to try and start harassing a little bit towards the upstairs
then
windows.
something's terribly wrong. And I know by watching him what it is. It's because he likes to move around so much. He can't sit still. And by his inability to sit still, he opens himself up to 12 different angles in 4 seconds. Wow, beautiful shot from Pengu. One of the best rappel players there is in the world.
Only 2 remaining members for TSM. It's Achieved as well as Pojo Man to try and bring this back from the depths.
Defender has left the designated staging area.
Pojo Man trying to get aggressive outside, but it only ends up giving him away. Fabian catches the outside notification and quickly adjusts on the spiral stairs, be able to take him out. Goga will now have access
Systematic.
to the site. He'll start putting the diffuser on the ground, but it won't even be
Yellow
necessary.
stairs control.
The trade between Fabian
Double
and Achieved, it is not enough.
console windows control, lines of sight, one person downstairs holding from Spiral / Bravo to make sure that no one goes under for a C4. It's systematic. It's how you do it on this map.
And that is something that I've noticed from G2's gameplay for a very long time, especially at this level when they are at LAN. You can always see that a G2 member is close enough
There's
to stop
nothing
anything that is going
insane
on
about the way the
rotation,
G2 are
on equip,
playing
window hop,
on their
anything.
attack.
They're always there to try and thwart your plans. And for right
It's
now,
just
TSM
silly
cannot
mistakes
find a
from
way around that,
TSM.
especially with how constricting this offense has been so far.
Little mistakes here and there from TSM.
To what could be our very last round here in just a second,
And it's
folks.
meaning that they're able to capitalize on it over and over and over again.
Figuring out the defenses from TSM, and most importantly, dealing with the biggest threat that they would have had to find from this defensive side, and that was the roaming presence from TSM. That
Now we're
round
seeing
aggression that
Achieve
in the
take the
group
Mozzie
stage,
instead of
along
Merc.
with a lot of tournaments
And now
preceding
Merc's
this
going to
event,
take the
was so
Vigil.
prevalent and so quintessential to
And
TSM's
Bio's going to take a
strategy.
Valve.
No longer is it working out
And
for
when
them
you've got a
against teams
downstairs
that
hold
can
like this, I
find
assume
new frontier
Bolo is
which
on
to work some control of
the
early round
Bandit,
into their favor.
with Pojo being on
Moment
the
it may
smoke.
not come on this map, as G2
If
is
I can
only
see that
one
correctly.
round
Yes, that's
away
how it
from
is.
closing it out.
And
Whether it's aggression
if
or what
Bolo's
have you,
gonna
TSM needs to try and find
Bandit
something
trick again,
to
which
just throw
again,
G2
not a
off. I
huge
know
fan
that's a
of. If
very
you
tall
do
order
not
to
have
ask, but
someone
never
holding
seen
your
G2
yellow stairs, it
absolutely
can be
stumped
so
by defense.
incredibly
But
dangerous.
that's what they have to achieve right now is practically excellence, because
I
they need
do
3
like the
rounds in a
way that
row, and the only team that's found that
and
so
who's
far
who did they move? They moved
G2.
Merc off
That's
Mozzie
it.
and they
So,
put Achieve. I love the
more or
way
less,
Achieve's
do your
playing
best
Mozzie.
G2. Do your
Having them
best
on the
G2
windows so that when they
impression, and
throw
maybe you'll
their
be able to beat
drones
G2.
through the windows, it gets
So G2
instantly
once again
taken by a
close
Mozzie
this early
drone.
round, a pretty spread out
Perfect.
attack, the most parties you might come to find against this site.
And I hope
Players are
we
going
can
to go
see
for
it here.
second
Fabian
story
should
control.
throw in a
First again,
drone.
that is to deal with the early roaming presence on TSM and find those players. They'll use the
And
drones
that should
first
get
in order to
captured
those
by
intels.
Achieve
This
very
is some
quickly.
RC cards you see rolling around the map in case you were curious. And again, like we've been saying multiple times, only the attackers have access to those.
Now what Merc needs to
Very
do
much
is
in the
stay
first minute or
still.
so of
He
the
got
actual
droned
main
out.
phase of the
Okay, no
round,
problems.
just to
Now
reassure
where's your roaming buddy to hold your
this layer
crossfire?
pushed in, and what is that from Achieved? Running out with a
And
double
it's just
kill.
Achieved jumping out.
Biologic
Okay.
does get traded by Uno
So-
somewhere else on the map, but that's a great pick from Achieved.
I like to, when I talk about jump outs and everything like that, I like to categorize them in two ways. One where you've used intel, and one where you've tried to use luck.
Probably either defending that window from a hop out or
And
what have you,
sometimes
or
those
that is.
luck
So,
ones
what
are
we'll
not
find out
great.
right now is actually, okay, Uno actually
What
picks
I
up
like
crossfire
there
with
about
this
Merc
spell. I don't know
is the
exactly
last
where
two
he's able to
rounds,
claim
he
those
was
2 kills at, but
incredibly
nevertheless, G2 now in a pretty bad spot.
fidgety.
TSM
That
chooses
round,
first
after he got
speed,
joined the
they'll
bathroom,
pick up
he
2 early
readjusted
kills.
2 meters and stayed there.
About a minute and a half
And that's
remaining
learning
here
from
now
your mistakes.
for G2 to work
So
their way
because
in.
Merc had
Nice
stayed
push
there
from Achieved.
and he
They
didn't
have
run
actually
around and
swung
make all
the
this
round
noise and
here.
everything, he was
So
able to
Goga
take Pengu
Uno
off guard when he
are the ones
repelled
left
in.
alive for G2. Uno
And he was
trying his
able to
best
get a
jump in
kill.
without being noticed. Takes a long haul duel here. It's going to take a tiny smidge of damage. Not really anything to remark, to be completely honest here. Makes out of it. Goga will soon follow in his suit, and they'll start to work their way down the Visa stairs into the basement and attempt to work a push into cafeteria here. A little bit of drone work first as Goga pops open the hatch.
Unsurprising, G2 are keeping themselves systematic, using their utility, making sure that they're doing what they need to do. And bringing it just down to Uno. Now, he knows that he has to try and come out with some frags. Oh, 1 to 2 health and a dream. That flick onto Achieve was great. He's not going to be able to get any more kills, but it's great that he did have a really solid effort. Now, I do want to highlight, Merc in that round was only able to have impact, especially as solo as he was, because Achieve had jumped out and sort of essentially left him on his lonesome. Achieve made a huge impact. Whether or not he had intel properly or not, as to where exactly they were, we could not see. I'd like to hope he did. I'd like to hope he didn't just go, hey, I'm going to yeet myself out this window because I know someone's repelling there somewhere. The fact that he got 2 kills from it makes me think that he possibly had intel of some kind.
The last hope for North America in this tournament. We started out the day with 2 teams.
There you go.
Here's the run out. Visa stairs, and they are lined
I can
up.
only imagine possibly one of his Mozzie, his Mozzie drones got captured, and he knew, okay, they're actually out there throwing a drone. So that's the only way that he could have been able to know that. And then for Merc to sit there and not run around, not make noise, and take advantage of Pengu when he repelled in, that's really what allowed them to be able to have such a strong run. It would be interesting to see how they would have gone had Achieve not jumped out and had those frags. But of course,
attackers have direct access to it from the front door.
that did take G2 off guard.
Quite a few windows on the other side, but the defenders can cause problems from rooms directly above it, or in some cases even below it. So the
Now TSM is going to go down to lobby.
As well, or risk being picked off in a haphazard
And some
push.
good Maestro camps set up from Pojeman there. In fact, both of them set up with a lobby plant in mind. What, who is Lion? Let me see who Lion is.
So good at
might be-
range, as we know all too well inside of the game
I
of
don't know, I
Siege.
can't see with this
Other than
new
that, we actually
spectator.
have some aggressive ops on the field with Achieved on
Okay, it's
Jaeger,
Goga,
which
is it?
we've known him to play for a
Okay.
very long time.
Goga,
Merc on the Valkyrie.
drone economy, buddy.
One
Please,
highlighting
we're EU.
the Valkyrie
with some of the best drone economists in this game. This is where this gets real troublesome real quick. Kanto's on the IQ. My assumption is he finds these Valcams pretty quickly. If he does not,
that's exactly what's going to grant them this kill on Uno right now. Make sure that there is no window presence.
Oh no. Good effort from Merc there, actually.
Even helping out G2.
If they do not have the IQ find these cams, I would be very surprised. It's not like they're some magic cams.
Keeping all 5 alive, but of course Uno will be at very much reduced HP since he
And I assume Kanto over there now is finding it.
They'll still have that hard breach potential, and that's the most important part of keeping.
Now this is where TSM needs to play smart. You do not need to peek G2 in these instances and Pojman moves out.
Get the first kill on the window swing, and they'll also pop off their first EE1D charge as the
G2 is now into Piano and CCI plant. I don't know why he doesn't use a lion charge at the same time. Maybe he doesn't have access to it at the moment, but boom, plants down.
But again, a small gesture, another EE1D charge will also hold off any quick attempts to retake, but it's not working.
Even though TSM are having a good effort at a retake, it's really not enough when you do not have the verticality set up over Piano as well as meeting.
More than likely going to have enough time outside to stay alive. Fabian takes down one. Fabian is immediately traded out though as Bolo will remove him from play. Goga popping off right now as Bolo will fall. It's only left up to Bio, SMG 11 by his side, and he can try and challenge outside, but opposed to challenging the front door. They're both outside now, so this is going to be way too difficult to really formulate anything. All it's going to take is a quick repel and more than likely a victory. Kanto from all the way.
That's a shame.
Will bring G2 one.
That's a shame for TSM because they had every capability, I feel, in that particular map. I don't feel like G2's strategies on there were the strongest. They definitely did it well. They definitely had the roam setup, the anchored tight roam setup, and the anchored tight support setup that they needed to on defense, especially. I would say that was their strongest side by far. But TSM made so many coordination mistakes. What a flick by Kanto. I think overall there for G2, that was a classic game of we're using intel, we know what we're doing, we're confident with the way that we're holding this, and that's why they were able to win so many defensive rounds.
Thank you, USN Caster. We're back here, though, gentlemen.
Their attack was definitely weaker than their defensive side, and TSM were able to take advantage of that quite consistently. But that's even with TSM having, I would say, coordination issues, especially roaming issues. When you roam, you want to make sure that you have 2 to 3 primary objectives in your mind. The first primary objective is waste as much damn time as you can. If you cannot waste any more time, then damn well take people down with you and make sure you're in a position to refrag, or make sure you're in a position to refrag someone else. If you're just doing a flex, random roam, sneaking around and everything like that, no problem. It's the same that we saw Bolo do on the flex, and he's running actually a bandit doing it, which was pretty random around some parts of the map at certain times, and he was able to take people off guard. But that only works if attackers are focused on other people on the map. So I would say most disappointingly, and I really like him, Merc let down his team on multiple occasions by fidgeting a lot, by not being in a position to be refragged, by being the opening kill, a lot of the times. And that's okay. You can say, well, he's a roamer, that's why he gets picked out first. Yes, but he also doesn't get refragged, and he also has not been able to refrag anyone else. So we have to identify where the problem is, and that's the problem. If you can do what G2 did, for example, and they have Kanto and ACOG down over in console, and they have other players playing near him so that they can either bait or refrag him or be refragged by him, then sweet, awesome, you're set. And that's why they wasted TSM's time on attack almost every single round where they were able to do some kind of roam setup.
It was all done and dusted.
Like what you
So
were saying just about
it's-
when G2
it's
sees opportunities.
black
there was
and
one
white when you
specific
see
moment
teams
where
that know
Pengu
what a
rotated
roam
his
and a
way over to
crossfire
cross
and a
windows,
refrag position
looked up through the
should look
windows,
like.
threw a drone,
It's
saw
systematic.
Doc playing back
And
the
then
couch,
younger team like
immediately
TSM who
threw a
has
flashbang,
so
caught
much
upside down,
freaking
and
potential,
instantly just demolished
but they're
Doc, took
fidgety.
him out of the game immediately.
And
the thing is that I feel
that
like
gets them into a
TSM are
really
being led
bad
into a
position.
false
That's when you
sense of
start to
security
see
at
people
times
getting
where
picked
they
off
think
and the
they're
kill
safe,
feed stays static
and
at
then all of
1.
a sudden G2
If your
strikes,
kill
and they
feed
strike
is
hard.
static and there's no refrag, that's when you or your captain or your coach should be turning around and going, where the fuck is my refrag? Where is it? And why was it not an instantaneous response to that? Why could we not refrag him? And when they go over this VOD, which I hope they do, they need to turn around and go, why are we struggling to even numbers out on both attack and defense? And the first thing they're going to see with that is they're going to see that Merc is oftentimes in a bad position. His positioning is bad, and or he's moving from one position to the other unnecessarily. And maybe that's not entirely Merc's fault. Maybe his other teammates, his other roamers like Achieved and the Flex sometimes, which is Bolo, needs to turn around and go, I need to be in a better position to help Crossfire with him, because maybe he feels he's getting pinched and he doesn't have help. But he can have help. Maybe he can have the refrag or the Crossfire or the hold that he needs when he's roaming, but he doesn't feel like we're there, or we're not communicating that we're there, holding those angles with him. So I definitely feel like there's been a lot of off plays by TSM, and I think TSM could have won that map. Actually, very well could have won that map had they have had more coordination and had more team. I'm going to say synergy, even though I don't feel like that's the right phrase. I don't think that's entirely the right phrase or term to use. But there was moments of greatness which could have been followed up by more greatness had they have coordinated themselves multiple times. So
it would make sense to do that.
They were ready for it, and G2 is not a great team on Consulate. You know, since they brought on Uno, who I would say is probably the strongest player on a map like Consulate, yes, their skill has lifted tenfold on this map. But TSM had every opportunity, multiple times, especially with their lobby setup, which G2 seems so confident about. There was multiple ways to go around that. You could have planted in lobby multiple times. It had lines of sight blocked off if all they were hoping for was window peaks. You could have had 3 different players of TSM standing outside long range with ACOGs, attempting to stop anyone from peeking. You could have smoked windows. You could have. There were so many ways to go around it that I feel like had TSM maybe even had a timeout and went, okay, boys, what they're actually doing is this and this, and we need to make sure we're blocking off those lines of sight, and they're being quite aggressive. So what we need to do is just stand there and hold our line of sight, and when they peek, we've got a free kill. So it's a bit of give and take. It's a push and pull with these kinds of teams. You're going up against a giant like G2. So you need to be able to read into the way that they're playing, and you need to be able to be confident about it. And they looked rather timid when they first started off in the first few rounds. Even though they started gaining traction, they still weren't able to coordinate themselves. And I do want to press that as being the biggest aspect of why they lost that map is the coordination. Not their skills, not their inability to have strategies. They were being systematic too. But they could not carry out the rounds the way they needed to, and the way that I could see some of the players on TSM setting up. Like, they'd done everything. Bolo, for example, great. Take admin, get my breaching charges down, hold my line of sight, get rid of the Maestro Cam, boom, I've done my job. And he did it every single freaking time on that top floor upon which that setup was done there. And he still didn't have the coordination from his team enough to be able to go, all right, now we can take Projector, and Achieved, you know, multiple times getting rid of people in meeting, and then no one capitalizing because they're all spread all over the map. So I definitely think that it's a shame for TSM because they had
Not a bad ban. As
They had
G2,
sections of the
especially in
map, they
crunch time
had things
situations
ready, they
early,
had
like to pick up
utility
the
used,
Ponzi
and
in
then
order to just apply free pressure.
it's like the shot
literally
calling
means
just
the mountain. That's his
ceased
name.
when
It's
they
very
went
hard
to
to
go
kill
for
the mountain,
execution. Like there was no
and it's very hard
executive
to
shot
kill
caller or
Monty. Mira
something
going
to
to be
that
banned
effect. I
out from
don't know
TSM
what's
now,
lacking
and
there, but
again, you know
let's hope
exactly
going
why,
into
but
this
I'll
map
give
that
you
they've
some
kind of
information
looked
anyways.
onto
If you
that
don't know what Mira does,
and
she
they've
actually
gone,
has two
okay,
one-way mirrors
we
she can
can
put
now
on,
do it on this map, we
reinforced
just
on
need to be more
reinforced
careful.
walls at either crouch or
Doki be
standing
ban,
level,
that
which
is a
gives you
target
instant
ban
information
again
that
onto
if you have a
TSM.
soft wall to your left or
Monty
right
ban
from
because
that mirror,
obviously
you're able
Pengu
to
loves
peek
his
off
Monty,
of and
especially on
try
Villa.
and claim a free
Mirror ban,
kill.
well,
So
that's
she
not a surprise
basically
either.
shakes up
And then
the
of course
entire way you
Echo
go about
because,
attacking
well,
the site.
yeah.
Therefore, that is why she is
Because a
removed quite
bit of a
often.
damn nuisance
Echo,
on
of course,
pretty
our
much
last
every
ban
map now.
for the defender side there as well. Same thing
Now
we
I
saw
think
on
for
the first
TSM
map.
as
Once
well,
again, those little drones that roam
psychologically,
around and have the
this
capability
would
to
be an
interrupt
area
fights
where
along with other
I
things.
would love to be
It's
able
going
to
too much for
watch
us to
them
deal with, so it'll be banned
and
out.
their
Into
body
the first
language
round, we are
because
going to go though, folks.
I would
It's gonna be
love to see
aviator
whether or
games
not
where you expect most teams to start on this map. It's
it had
G2 once
taken a
again
toll
the
on them,
defense,
how they speak to each
TSM
other,
on the attack.
the tone that they
The last
use.
time that we saw TSM on this map was actually not too long ago, Blue. It was up against MIBR, and that is actually where TSM was able to book their ticket to the main stage. It's why they're here right now, so it would be very suiting if they could possibly make it happen once again. But again,
Now,
it's
I
going to take
don't-
quite a bit. And
I think
on
I
the
must have missed
offensive
whether or not
side of
anyone had
TSM,
six-picked in
during
that
Villa
round.
game, we saw Merc
Would have
get
been
punished
interesting to see
quite
whether
a
or not
bit by
Uno
quite a
had
few
six-picked
players
onto the
from
pulse or
MIBR
not.
on their roam games. It just did not seem
Because if he
like they were
had,
able to find a way
then of
around
course
any
they
type
are
of
not going
pressure
to be
off Villa on
aware
their
that they
offensive
do have a pulse. But if he didn't six-pick onto the pulse, and you can see TSM running that IQ, the first thing I would be doing as TSM is having both of my support players on drones and the rest of my 3 players, aka Jackal, IQ, and Sledge, going gung-ho for Uno on the pulse. Because Villa's quite a big map. It's very versatile in the way that you can sort of run around in multiplicity of rooms and up and stairs and down into the basement, because you can pulse from there quite easily as well. So if they don't make that a priority to clear him first, and they put a lot of effort into it really quickly, then I do worry for them. I do think that that's a really bad mistake for them to do. And you can see Bio droning himself in the kitchen now, but where is his teammates?
They got rid of him for me. We didn't have to
Boom,
with it.
Bolu,
G2 is not going to have to deal with Bolu
gone.
anymore because he's dead.
Why? Because they didn't prioritize getting rid of the pulse first. And now Bio is going to try and take him on by himself. And no one's there to refrag.
Go past your old ways.
Once again, we were talking in the
He's able to get the kill, and Merc's able to get the kill on Kanto as well. But that could have gone very wrong had the pulse been looking the other way. Just because something works in that moment doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. And again, pushing alone, constant pushing alone. It's so dangerous in a game like Siege to play in a way that does not promote refrags. The static kill feed is an absolute success killer.
Open up a sight line, but it wasn't exactly what they needed in order to contest Fabian at the top of red stairs. TSM now barreling down on site, but Pengu still has control of main stairs, so they're going to have to try and contest him for that. Merc working his way up 90, still has 2 Jackal tracks as well, so could definitely throw a wrench into things.
Minute remaining here. Fabian hunting for a mistake.
It's really good to see them using
gets chucked through and Achieved finishes it off with a final shot. Tries to turn it around, but Merc accidentally
that's a shame.
shoots Achieved as he goes
And that's
in front
going
of
to
his
get banned.
crosshair. A massive misstep for
Yikers, buddy.
TSM.
It's good to see them, you know, making sure that they elevate themselves up on the desk and stuff like that, you know, thinking about C4s, thinking about this. That's good game sense. I'm glad they've played that way, but they've lost one too many people now, and I want to know where Bio is.
Pengu actually take down Biologics.
Okay, Bio's dead.
Easier. This is a 2 versus 2.
Okay.
Pengu with the supporters. Goga takes down 1. It's all up to Pojo and Pengu once again. The team play from G2.
Okay.
Truly insane to see in person. Just back and forth. It doesn't matter if it's
Again,
a 2v4 or 2v5.
I just feel like after you go up against Uno on Consulate and you see how insanely aggressive he is and how much he just wants to be outside of the freaking building all the time or peeking outside or looking outside, that you would go into map 2 and go, hey guys, no freaking doubt in my mind. I don't know if they 6-pick the pulse. I don't know. But no freaking doubt in my mind. There's going to be either Uno or Kanto wanting to do something. And no one is positioning themselves in a way to stop that. Yes, okay, that jump out onto Bolo. Bolo couldn't have predicted 100% that that would happen. I will agree that that's such a random... That's such a random jump out that way. That kill on was also great there, and so was that. But that was a little bit of a mesh up. They wouldn't have been there together had it had not been because they needed to get that bandit off the wall.
As they were actually just able to battle back through aviation, as that was a main focal point for TSM, and they continue to try and contest that door as Pengu as well as Goga.
I don't know how to analyze G2's undertaking of that round because it seemed pretty systematic to me. To have a pulse downstairs, have multiple people inside, a bandit, etc. Bandit tricking one of the walls. I mean, it was nothing crazy. They just executed their defensive strategy really well, and they didn't overpeak, especially the support. They didn't overpeak too unnecessarily, so they did it right.
Especially in those moments where your comms have to be crystal clear, you can't overcompensate, you can't yell, it just has to be perfectly timed on what you're saying. The information is delivered, and you somehow come through with it. And just their team play as well as just their communication to each other.
Now again, you've got guys like Kanto and Uno who are going to be off-site, almost 9 times out of 10. This hold, however, is one that, and I can't remember which team it was that was running it, but there's multiple teams now who, when they hold Trophy, they also decide to hold Aviator as well. And it stretches their utility and their reinforcements really thin. Achieved already underneath, making sure there's vertical holes, a great usage of his utility. He knows what he needs to be doing. Granted, it's taking a little bit longer than it should to probably get the bandits off that wall. And then a beautiful peek onto Goga there. And now the bandit's completely out of commission. Beautiful. Now Bolo just needs to sit there and not peek. He just has to hold the angle now. And he knows, okay, cool. My Havana's going to get that wall open. Oh, great. And they're able to get rid of the Maestro Cam. A beautiful utilization of his utility. And a lot of people call Bolo, you know, a brainless fragger. No. No. Not from what I see in his competitive play, no. Projaman, a great support player. Great game knowledge. But again, it's Uno who's able to take out people with no refrags. And there finally we're seeing the refrags. That's beautiful. That's something I do want to commend. Is to finally see TSM able to put some refrags on the kill board, on the kill feed I should say, and on the board is great. I do see Achieve's purpose. I actually see what they've set up Achieve to do, is that once Achieve's used his utility, then he's there to pinch the site when they go for the push. That's why he's always sort of away from the pack. That's why he's always pinching site from the other side. And I can see that that's a really good way to go about it. That's how you should have a good team go about their pushes. But it's the coordination issue with TSM that makes it their issue. Some of these players are doing fantastic things, but the coordination is detracting from their ability to be as good as they are. You know, where was the flank watch? Where was, you know, once Bolo had taken that pick and once they had set themselves up ready to get that wall open, Projaman was ready. Where was the ability for everyone to be set up and go, all right, I'm cool, I'm ready to go. Is everyone holding their lines of sight? Instead, it had to turn into a team deathmatch. And it didn't have to be that way because TSM had so much control already.
Harping on it, so they'll head down to the kitchen for the 3rd point on their triangle.
They still have to hold down the upstairs, so it's more or less an upstairs hold, just with more reinforcements downstairs than not. Main area, though, is going to be the laundry room that is highly contested on this site, and it gets you almost instant access, but it's also sort of a kill box if vertical pressure is still allowed to be held by G2. So the main focus point for TSM will be top clearing. They need to pick their exact point. Usually we see people try and clear from games and across, or start over inside of study and work completely across, clearing that entire top floor. But things can get pretty dicey once you're trying to battle your way into trophy or statuary.
For an NA team, I find that TSM is far more calculated than a lot of the other teams. And what I mean by calculated is that they definitely like to take their time checking things. Yes, they're still extraordinarily aggressive, as is typical or stereotypical of an NA team, but they're a lot more careful than I see a lot of other NA teams. And that shows potential for them to be a more calculated and what we would consider a smarter team.
Track coming in from Merc. Unfortunately, he's only going to isolate out a player downstairs, but Uno is found this time. He's the one.
God, that flick onto Goga was almost perfect. Unfortunate for Bolo, what he needed to have done was told his bathroom player achieved that he is peeking and have achieved peak at the same time. Again, a coordination issue. Goga was in a really bad position there, and he's very lucky he stayed alive. There's no need to stand up in astronomy unless they push in. There's absolutely no need. And it's good because TSM are wasting a lot of the smoke bays really early on into the round.
All they want is you not to have that map control. We are going to have one of those lion charges actually work out. It will mark up Goga, but it doesn't even matter. They won't even contest him. Finally,
well done to Pojaman waiting for him to waste all of his ammo. That was great. Wow, Pojaman, really, really well done.
Into a 2 versus 2 here now. Another very, very close situation as TSM is looking to get onto the site. But
the game sense on Pojaman is unreal sometimes, and he may not have the best mechanical skill like some of his teammates, but you can see that kind of game sense, that game knowledge shining through when he does and makes some of the decisions.
It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, though. G2 picked a perfect time to fall back. You can see Biologic's been heavily injured. He's not necessarily in fighting condition, whereas Pengu, it's fine that he's low HP. He's the player that's going to be sitting back looking to the left.
Now, down to a 2v2. That's the last smoke babe. If anyone was counting, they're gonna damn know about it. And all they need now is a drone.
Try and gain a little bit more access. No, it's actually
hopefully one of them has one drone left or something to that effect. And instead they're forcing their way in with flashes. Pengu's going to be there. And all he has to do is hide, and he knows that.
Currently sitting on site, 17 seconds left, no more toxic babes, as we did see him pop his last one over towards the door of Tarps. He's just waiting for that plant sound. Pojo has to try and find him, but from behind, it's Pengu. Pojo not accounting for when the man could possibly be, and G2 walk away with yet another round.
Fatal misread from Pojo, man, the player we've looked to.
I don't know whether or not,
ever since he stepped into the team,
because it does feel like Uno's luck of running around wildly on Villa has been suppressed a heck of a lot more than it was on Consulate. So it does look like TSM did learn from their mistakes on the last map, and they are shutting down Uno more quickly than before. But it's again a coordination issue, and I think it's a little bit of a coordination issue from G2 as well. Is to not holding each other's crossfire. Say, well, I'm getting pushed from bathroom, and I've got someone on my Astro Repel. That's 2 full people. And Goga should have said, okay, can someone hold my line of sight into the window so I can peek bathroom? Or hey, can someone hold a crossfire because I have someone pushing me from bathroom? One person could have peeked, rotate another, and Goga could have peeked right next to the door. And then you could have guaranteed a refrag or at least a crossfire.
But nonetheless, G2 will find their round on Kitchen as we go back to the first site.
But I do think for G2 as well, they're taking a lot of unnecessary risks that they don't need to take. Some of their players, you know, really relying on pre-fires.
Minute issues of trying to get access into the site from the 90 hallway prevented them from successfully deploying and obviously winning out the round there. G2
And of course, it's that kind of, you know, NA mentality where a lot of them, when they engage in a gunfight, they commit, you know, they go hard out. And I think that comes at a bit of a detriment to a lot of the players.
Well, going to have the exact same look inside of Astronomy, but it's no longer go.
So again, this Astro Repel is only useful if someone isn't watching.
He does everything he could possibly want to do.
And to get someone's attention away from the Astro Repel, you need someone else to take away their attention.
Any longer makes your gunfights quite a bit easier. Some footprints now for Biologic. So we'll be able to mark out a target upstairs.
Now they've got a clash. And there we go. Frag onto Merc, and Merc was not in a position to be refragged. Oh, for me, it's such a shame. It really is such a shame because
crowd control shield that is going to be able to block off angles. We can see the kill from Kanto happening there just a few moments ago too. Uno can be an extra strike caliber. Kanto ready for another fight as he also picks up his own personal second and a third for his team on the overall round. Down to just Biologic and Pojo Man now
G2,
to bring back a 2v5.
Some of these players are opening themselves up to multiple lines of sight at any one given time. And there's no one from TSM in those lines of sight to take advantage of that.
Play the shield at the top of main stairs with either
And
Echo or Smoke.
that is why G2 are allowed to get away with running around wildly. They're literally allowed to run around the side and around the map as they please.
Again, that's been the entire mantra of G2 for a very long time. As long as we're able to delay and not even allow them to focus on sight, we can probably battle back with the skull, well, at least the backbone of the team.
Fabian gonna try to push forward here and crunch.
I will admit, when you come up against something like a Clash, it's so oppressive. It's such an oppressive operator. It takes multiple people to overwhelm them. Just like a Monty, you know, you never want to focus on just the Clash. You want to focus on the people that are bouncing around her, and that can be so difficult to do, especially when a shield zaps. It's such an impressive operator.
It's one of those things
Again,
where, yeah, you might hate
I
them,
do
but
want
you
to
have
say
respect
that
just how damn good they are in this
TSM
game, because it is
are
truly
losing
incredible
rounds
to watch the
not
amount of
based off
team
the
play
fact that
are
they are
able to
unable
show.
to win their
It's
gunfights.
truly something
I
to
do not feel
wonder
that
at,
is the issue for
especially with
TSM.
the
I
amount
think
of
their
people that
mechanical
they have
skill
off-site.
is
Typically
great.
speaking, you have two
They are
people,
losing
possibly
rounds
3 people
because they've got
on-site,
people
2
shooting
roamers
through,
trying to apply
one,
pressure
face checking,
somewhere else.
or two,
G2
using
said,
their
"Nah,
own
we're
drone
not
and
gonna
then
need that.
pushing
We
in
just
by
need Pengu
themselves,
watching main stairs with
and
their
or a
small
mix
smoke
of those
sensors to try and
two,
rush something."
and or
But I know where
they're having
likely
people
going to
move
go. They're
in
going to try and challenge
without even being
Master and
able
get the
to
map
have
control,
someone
and
with
then
them for
clear
the
it
refrag.
across. So we're going to
You
continuously
must
contest that, try and
prioritize
get a lot of kills while we're doing it.
clearing
And that's
with a
exactly
refrag.
what happened.
This game relies on it. Unless you've got walls and hacks and okay, yes, that kill onto Merc there, right? It was a slither. It was a damn crack in the wall. But I don't know many people who jump into bathrooms. I don't know many of them. I know some people who jump into closet and then do peek holes or bullet holes at the bottom of the wall in closet, but I don't know many that vault into bathroom.
So TSM entered the match as the tournament leaders in clutches, won with 7, but have lost all 8 of their 1vx opportunities against G2, and I think that's a massive tale of the tape, to be completely honest with you. TSM has not had a single clutch this entire time, and it's been, again, practically surgical by G2.
I'm very quiet right now because I'm interested to see.
Just cannot find a
You need to open that up more, buddy. No?
Okay.
Okay. Clearly Kanto's just trying some random things.
Put it on the
That was
mantle.
definitely not planned,
Put it on the fridge,
because
Mom, please.
he would have
I wanna-
known exactly how to do that.
On the fridge.
We'll chuck that up in the
Fabian's mom, please put like all of his trophies just on the fridge. Just get some massive magnets.
I'm not sure if that would work. It might tip over the fridge due to the weight balance.
It just goes straight Stranger Things. Just all
You
fall out.
hate to see it.
Yeah.
You
See all this
hate
plop
to
off in
see
one
it.
big swoop. Not gonna work
Mom's
out.
there, it's
Merc
like, I don't know
going
why, they just
in
keep
by
falling out, but it's not.
himself.
It's not like they each weigh like 20 pounds or anything like that. So. All right, well, let's take a look here and see how TSM is going to try and approach this round. Again, taking upstairs control first, trying to pinch out the
Some
pressure
good
from
pre-fires
G2
there.
that is going to be
Had anyone
present.
been unsuspecting there?
Like games where you can see
Boom,
Go-Go
dead.
rolling around and now Merc already moving up to red stairs, though, is for the most part going to ignore the positions from guys like
He's
Goga.
just so much on his own.
Checking for those cameras right now, if you're wondering why he's kind of looking around aimlessly. So try and detect those cameras that
I mean, they have an IQ as well, and he's getting spotted by Valve cams, and
on the map, including outside after the actual part of the round has
it's a little bit of look at G2. They're patient, they're systematic, they're waiting, they know exactly what angles they want to hold. They're holding each other's crossfire. Look at this, Goga and Kanto so close to each other. Penguin and Uno so close to each other. That's called crossfires. That's what a crossfire is. That's how you get refrags. Look at that, Uno. Holding a very tight angle by himself. Penguin also gets a kill. Merc's able to get 2 trades, which is an amazing feat considering the fact that he just zoomed himself into the top floor above site.
G2 has almost every single floorboard you could possibly want upstairs for an angle open, and it's very, very dangerous. We are going to have the last one, I do believe, to fall off from upstairs. Yes, Uno will be the last.
I really can't stress it enough. There is the ability for TSM to be a great team. And right now, you've got some of the best support players in the world sitting on site, patient as ever. Look at the concentration on Fabian. He is stationary. He's holding that angle. He's not dancing around the site. You know, he's not fidgeting around. He's not trying to over-position himself or over-peak something. He's literally wasting the crap out of TSM's time. And it's working. Because none of TSM are ready to push this side.
He's more than likely a dead man, and there you go. Goga takes him out. 10 seconds remaining here in G2.
The intel collection is beautiful because IQ didn't do their job. And now it's just Achieve left to try and clutch it. And that is just not going to happen. There's such a strange dynamic on the side of G2. They've got a couple of players which are so heavily aggressive. And then they've got other players who are so heavily calculated and patient that they balance themselves out because of it. The people who are aggressive do it together, and they hold each other's crossfires, and they do things in a way that they need to together. Yes, okay, some of them do jump outs or peaks or whatever where they can't be refragged. But you've seen then, the reason Merc got those kills was because they pushed together a little bit out of sync. G2 has this phenomenal synergy with their players where some are so intensely patient and calculated and support-like, and you can see guys like Fabian and Pengu, especially when he's on his support role, who are just static. And they sit there and they're static and they wait and they waste time because they know that that's the other teammate that they have, is to waste time. And so that they go through and they do that. And TSM, on the other hand, struggles to come to terms with the fact that you can play this game in a way that lets time do your job for you. And I know a lot of teams could learn a lot from G2 in the way that they play a lot of their play styles. It does shine through a heck of a lot more on their LAN performances. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they're so incredibly proficient on LAN, and then online they don't look like the same team oftentimes, which is very strange to me. But what I like is that even though TSM struggles with their coordination and they struggle a lot with their refrags, their players' game sense on a few of their players is really strong, and their utility sense is really strong.
Mark working his way in very quickly will take easy control of walk into the master bedroom, or usually
and sometimes that can be really hard to teach a team.
Areas like astronomy is where bigger troubles are going to be found here for TSM, as we've already seen.
And it's good because whilst Merc does struggle a lot with his play style, I think it's because it might come across as over aggressive. You can see him slowly learning from a lot of the mistakes he does. Like, you know, he doesn't jump in a bathroom this time. Instead, he goes to a bedroom and he hides himself in a corner, and then he drones. And, you know, he didn't do that the other round. He just leapt on in. And it's good to see players, especially young players, learning from their mistakes that quickly and implementing it into their gameplay. That can be a very hard thing to teach.
It's the late roam that's going to look to do some damage. We have Goga lurking from the other side of the map right now, trying to pinch onto some of the TSM players that are upstairs. And at the moment,
see what I mean by calculated? Pengu is probably going to sit there for as long as he damn needs to. Because if no one's going to flush him out and he's got a C4 below, it's an easy thing for him. Goga the lurk, the flex lurk. Fabian underneath with the C4 as well.
This is where your flank drones are definitely going to come in and be important. Uno will fall in the process of Goga on this rotation. He does work his way
at this, the flank, because no one's on dedicated flank watch.
Astronomy works his way up. Achieves actually on drone. That's going to be a free kill. Merc's going to try and challenge from the staircase. Doesn't win it out. Flips around. Actually finds a Sophia. Bolo's looking the wrong way. Challenges with the pistol.
No.
Is actually not going to get down. I don't even understand how that happened.
And he just got away with it too.
Takes down Fabian inside of sight.
So still making impact, of course, on the actual site defenders here, but Goga putting a huge thorn into their sides here. They're now going to have to deal with later on in the round. Pojoman finding Goga, though, and finally dealing with that issue, along with Merc being able to pick up Pengu, might have just sealed the deal now for TSM. It's all on Kanto. A nice find from Pojo to take him out, and it also drops the diffuser onto the ground with just 20 seconds remaining, but he's going to get pincered here. Needs to be very careful with how he uses these next 15 seconds, as that's all he needs to do. Run the timer down. He's won the round, tries to spam it a little bit, but no. Biologic catches him from the kitchen, and
now that
will be able to claim
was gifted to TSM there.
A lot like Consulate. Very
after Goga had gone upstairs and gotten his frags, and then he defaulted off and got away with it. All G2 needed to do then was go to corners of the site that didn't have vertical breach holes above them and sit there and wait, because they still had plant denial left. There was no need for any of them to have then gone and tried another flank. That's why Kanto stayed on site, because he knew to himself there was no need for him to go and push up again. Unfortunately, the decision was made to go to the hatch. It was probably a pretty good decision. Had there have not been people clearly upstairs doing vertical play at the same time, they must have assumed that Goga had gotten everyone who was upstairs. But I don't like when a team assumes. Assumptions get you killed in this game.
For TSM, of course, they now need to win quite a few more in order to bring them
the
back
thing
into this
with TSM there, which is why they should have lost, was they had no flank watch. And Villa is a flank map. Villa is a flank map. If you do not have someone visibly watching the flanks, or you have someone watching a drone and therefore watching the flank, then you are giving yourself up. You are literally giving the opposition the opportunity
to get around this team, and right now TSM, especially after the last round, and Merc
to flank you.
I don't know if he went for an aggressive peek,
because I can tell you what, I can crouch walk all the way from friggin' study over to trophy without being spotted.
He took quite a bit of damage, but
and that's bad. If you know that you can have that happen to you and you're not prepared for it, that's not a great setup. You must always have a flank setup, always.
Mark as well actually been doing a pretty admirable job. This is kind of his own personal comfort map.
Especially once you've got top floor control.
I've personally seen the most potential from this man. So
what?
He's doing a lot better on this map than we saw before. But that is the ultimate
problem
for this player. Is it is very, very hit or miss performance.
I'm glad he didn't lose any health for that, because that was strange.
TSM at this tournament. Speaking of achieved, he's getting bullied right now by drones as they've isolated out his position quite a few times. Unfortunately, from that window repel where you can see Pengu trying to catch him.
And here we go again. One of the best repellers in the world.
To catch him on a rotate from the EE1D, but
Pengu.
off the remaining players from G2, or at least it would seem to be the case, as no, Goga strikes first against Bolo before Achieved is able to trade him right back down into a 4v4.
And he's going to be able to help
his way up through trophy. Does have to worry
clear
about
out.
Takes down Merc, who was playing red stairs. Has some feet as well, so he will mark those out with the Inox, but it's going to be Bio to trade things out.
Now this is a flurry of kills if I've ever seen it. And again, Bio is very much like Merc. Once he's got a kill, he starts sprinting in a direction.
remaining members
And-
of G2, only 2 for
And you'll see some of the
TSM.
G2 players, once they've got a
a
kill, I should say, they, rather than start sprinting in a direction and turn their back, they actually look at another angle. And they'll either pre-fire it, or they'll just watch another angle from the position that they just got a kill. Because for them, in their minds, they're always thinking someone's there to refrag. And that's what TSM needs to start thinking, and that's what TSM needs to start doing. Always assume someone's there for a refrag. So don't just start running. Either recheck the angle, crouch down behind something if you have something there to crouch down behind, or check the other cross angle where you would expect someone else to be pushing with that particular player.
Exactly where the setup is at this point for TSM. That info is starting to grow a little bit old, but it's safe to assume that they're in the site at this point. Now with 30 seconds left, we need to see them commit to a push.
That's going to be the last Inox charge from Fabian, as well as all of their sights will be set on site. Still 2 remaining members of TSM. No damage done to either of them. Fabian and Kanto at half
Pojaman's
health
in
as
such a
things begin to
bad
pop off.
spot.
Pojo falls. Fabian with the second, and G2 once again find a way onto site. Are able to claim the last 2 lives. And again, it's something so respectable by G2. They slow down
I feel
their play,
like,
and they go for that last second
and I know
round
that this
to gain
is
information
G2's
that
map
they
pick,
need to make sure
so
that TSM aren't where they think they are. With that, it's a lot easier to win your gunfights, especially when you're
it's
the one that
not
has the
surprising to me
information
that they are
most likely
looking as
looked at
confident
active
as they
defaults.
are.
They knew exactly where they were going to be playing.
But what I
They knew that
also
leadership was
think
going to be inside
is
of
a lot of the
the
issue,
vault, and they also knew someone was
and we
more than
saw it
likely going
last
to be
map for
playing inside
TSM
the
as
bar
well,
area, more than likely behind
is
the bar,
that
inside
if you
of that
if you
space.
don't
And
have
again, this is
essential
just
things set up, like,
top tier G2, as
and that
we've
pick there by
definitely
Uno,
seen
that was good. He was able to be refragged because Achieved was close enough. And by looking at that, you could simply learn so much. That I think that team itself could learn so much from looking at a tiny clip like that and going, hey, you got your first refrag for the entire match, and the only reason you got it was because you were close enough to me. I wonder if we apply that strategy to the rest of our playstyle, and every time I'm roaming, I have you close, and then you can either refrag or crossfire with me, and maybe then we'll be more successful. And that's what Merc and Achieve need to start doing together. They need to create some kind of roaming synergy, because they're strong. Their gun skill is strong. Their mechanical skill is very strong. Individually, okay, yeah, not too bad, but imagine slapping it together. Imagine having such a strong roam presence that teams don't know how to clear you. They could have that dominant kind of reputation if they knew how to harness it.
But G2 has never been an online team. They're a LAN team, they're a major team, and they haven't lost a major for 3
And it's the same way
majors
when they roam clear.
You
Merc sort of bursting through and doing it on his own. Yes, that works. Especially against lower tier teams, that works very well. Because his mechanical skill is excellent.
Now 4 is looking to challenge their title and take it away from them as they move further and further into this tournament.
When you're going up against the big dogs, you got to be careful.
Bolo to start us off here in round 8 as Fabian will fall, and that's actually a massive pick. The Jackal utility
Great
helped
pick
them
from
out quite
Bolo
a bit
there.
on that last round,
And
but it's gonna be an
Pojaman as
extremely
well.
aggressive front as Goga tries to battle back, but he will take down, and it'll actually be Uno, apologies. Achieve, though, will battle back as well as he takes down Pengu. So, things now starting to fall in TSM's hands, but immediately as I say that, 2 members will be removed from play for TSM. This managed advantage is just 1 person away from G2 equalizing.
Nuno once again trying to work this in. This is all with just 2 minutes remaining on the clock, by the way, so quite a bit of action for this early on in the round. Biologic adds another kill to his
What I
team's
like
counter,
about
though, as they're
G2 is
able to find
even
Goga
when
out.
they're
Brings
super
on
down
Uno.
on
He's
numbers
kind
and it
of
looks really
self-droning
bleak for them,
himself forward here.
they just take a
Taking it
breath,
back over towards
they
himself,
stop,
just check
and they
over
drone.
towards the sights, as he really doesn't have a choice at this
And a
point.
lot of teams
He does have to
panic
make
in those
one
moments and they
last
start
attempt to
base
push into the
checking and they
1v3.
start moving
Hope it
without.
goes well for himself.
Oh god, that
Achieve.
C4 should have
Trying to get some
really
damage.
collected
He
Uno
actually
there,
does
but didn't.
succeed in doing it to Uno, but it's not close enough
And they
for a
start to
kill.
panic, and
Now restricted even
instead
further.
of,
Trying
you
his
know,
best to battle out of the bathroom living room area, but just nothing
being
working. He did pop up
calculated,
it on his
they
last EE1D charges in order to try and get
they
one little
just
bit of
start
info.
face checking and getting themselves killed, and then the numbers dwindle, and it gives the opportunity for the team that's low on numbers to continuously progress up and up and up. And oh my god, dude.
Finally comes out with something. He's still got
There is
a little
no
run
need
of
to
it left,
peek.
but finally, Biologic takes him down, and it's
In a
TSM's
1v3 like
round.
that, you could have 3 people holding every single angle,
Bring this series back under their own control.
and crossfires. It was a huge issue when I was with Penta. Our team would have numbers. We would have numbers on the board. We would have you know, like a friggin' 4v2 going on. We'd have a 5v2 going on. And we'd lose the round because people just kept peeking and peeking. And it's very much what TSM need to start being careful of, is that if they do not value the objective over kills, then they will continually get punished.
But again, just a small gesture. We need to see some consistency from TSM. We can't just see these detached rounds be won by them anymore. If there's a trade out from G2 in the following round coming up here, I personally am going to be very, very worried about the rest of this series for TSM. Not just for the reason that
it's good to see though that TSM are able to bring some of these rounds back. I wouldn't say that it's as dominating as it damn should be by TSM, and I would say that G2's performance on Villa, even though it's their pick, was nowhere near as strong as their performance on Consulate.
And the difficult thing is right now is that G2 is
so it's very strange to me that
TSM has been showing on defense. That last
a map that is their first map pick is something that they're probably showing not a great load of prowess on. Nowhere near the kind of prowess we saw
Pengu's actually just playing inside of
them show on Consulate, for example.
Possibly get aggressive on the windows. They're taking their time a lot more now, and this might be the time where TSM just needs to turtle up. Fight for map control, yes, like G2 does, but also be able to rotate back, get some supporting angles, try and help out your other man. And right now, I don't feel like TSM has really been able to strike that iron just yet.
So 30 seconds into our primary phase of the round here. G2, like you've been mentioning, taking their sweet time at the
moment. Playing so aggressive.
Taking a very, very normal route to things. You can see the presence.
Which is so confusing to me, considering he should know that Closet has had its control taken, and at any time anyone could just peek that bathroom door and he'd be right in front of it. So it's good that he's gone back behind desk on Astro.
Unfortunately, on the defensive side there, so G2 won't be able to use that.
Now, this is how you take Astro. There's 3 people committing themselves to getting this room. This is called sectioning.
Which could be trouble, but Goga strikes first here, being able to knock out Merc, and they look for the second against the player behind the desk. He doesn't really have much of a desk going anymore.
And refrag. Boom. Bam, bam, bam. That's how you do it. That's how you collapse. That's how you clear a room. Sectioning is a very hard aspect of Siege to teach players, because in their mind, it's not about the room, it's the player count. But on a super deeply analytical level, this game is about sectioning off parts of the map and having map control. And a lot of these players who have played this game for a very long time, G2 for example, know how to section and know the importance and the ranking of sectioning certain parts of the map over others and applying more utility to certain sections. And so if you can section well, aka Astro was a very important part of them to section, because that's what the control that they needed. One, it's a key flank point. 2, it's an area that someone's setting themselves up in, and if they do not hold it, or at least hold the rotate back, then they've severely crippled their ability to get into site.
Pojo Man's nowhere to be found. He's inside of 90. He challenges, but Lion dips back in towards Bar. All of a sudden, this becomes a lot more difficult than it already was. Even in the 1v4
that's so smart from Pojo Man to run through the smoke.
Complicated. That smoke's going to dissipate, giving the line of sight back to Pojo. The Alda, such a fantastic.
I mean, he's going to lose this round, but that was super smart.
That thing takes quite a while to reload as well.
Tracker on him now too.
Tracker on him as well. Still 4 pings to go, and Jackal does an extremely difficult thing. Pojo Man just nodding. He appears ready for this, and he might surprise. Quite a bit of damage, but to no avail.
It's not going to happen, folks, and with that, G2 are going to be able to win out the round, putting them just one more away now from closing out the series, knocking out The last hope from North America and sending themselves on into the semifinals.
I do wonder if guys like Pojamin
championship that they're looking for once again here. G2's
had,
dynasty continues to grow, and it does
because
not
the
look
game
like
sense
TSM
on Pojamin is
are gonna be
so
able to get in the
incredibly
way of it.
strong. It's so incredibly
Well, you do have to give something
mesmerizing to
TSM. They've never
watch
played G2
sometimes.
before. They've
Some of the
never played
decisions
this team
he
ever,
makes and the way he
especially with
peaks
this
and the
roster lineup.
timings he does is
But you also
great,
have to give a little bit of a tip of
and
the cap,
obviously
right? These
detracted
guys
by
are,
his mechanical
for
skill.
lack of a better term,
Um,
land of
if
misfit toys,
he's
to say
more
the least.
mechanically
Pojamin,
skilled
gone from
teammates
Dark Zero,
were
joins
able
this
to,
roster,
like, what is that? Like, what
previously
is
accelerate. They get Bolo, they get Bert,
someone?
Bolo,
I do
someone
hope,
that's made his career
because
off of,
Merc's
off of
potential
Rainbow
is
Six
being
through his,
hindered.
different means of
He's
channels and
such a
everything else,
great
streaming, as well as
mechanical
video
player,
creation. You have
and
Merc, which is
it's
just
being
someone that
absolutely
I've known for a
hindered
very
by the
long time,
fact
coming from
that
Xbox with,
he is
a main focus on
allowed to
early
run
picking
around
up that
wildly
PC. They bring
and
this
get
team
shut
together. All of a
down
sudden,
9 times out of
here's
10.
something.
He
They're
is the
only team
opening
that's left
kill.
from North America inside of the main stage of Raleigh. And it's been an incredible run for them so far. It's just very sore to see it get snuffed out.
G2's core has never once been defeated by a North American team at LAN. And with this win here, if they close out this final round,
A lot
they'll
of
push
people
that
forget
record
this
to
game is a
11
team
and
game.
against NA teams
And
at LAN.
you know, you could
Again,
have
to
one
get
of the
more
best
credit towards
players
TSM,
on a
they were
team,
one of the only
but
two
if the
North American teams
coordination
that made
and the
it far, where
synergy
some of our veteran
is
teams
not at where it's
5
meant to be,
represented total
then you've
here
just
for
got
North America.
5
We're not
individually
able to
great
make it.
players
Looks
at their
like
role
Rogue
or
and
their,
EG
you know, with
knocked
great
out
mechanical
in the
skill or
group
whatever it is
stage.
that they
You
might be
normally
the
see
best
them
at
get
on their particular
much
team.
further into the event. So for TSM
And
to make it this far is certainly a personal
you
achievement
lose
for
one
the
of them,
team,
you
one
lose
that they
2
are
of them, you're
absolutely
against
going to
numbers,
go
you got
back
people
home
crossfiring
and
you.
build on
There's
over
not
the
much you
next
can
few
do no
months
matter
as
how
we
good
lead
you
up to
are
events
if you
like
start
the
losing
Poly
numbers
Finals
at a
and,
rapid
of
speed.
course, Invitational at the start of next year.
Well, possibly the last round of the quarterfinals
Oh,
for today.
the blitz coming out
This
from Pengu.
TSM
You
could
know,
possibly put
he used to
the channel on
popularly
its
run
Pengu now
blitz
gonna
as
be
well.
playing
I
an
remember
operator we
him
don't
running on
see
Oregon
too
one time as well.
often in
And
Blue.
mind you, this
We're
was a
going to
long
have
time ago
blitz
now,
on the
but
field by Pengu.
you can't shoot
A little
the
bit
edge
of
of that,
fun,
my
of
bro.
course, for this.
I think everyone knows the op. They definitely know the op.
I mean, I know you should be able to, but you can't.
If you
plays
don't,
blitz in your life.
it's a man with a shield and it makes bright lights. That's the easiest way to explain it. Achieved, however, will start out with a successful kill against the Zofia this time. There's the flash and the sudden run of fear from TSM as their players are going to run back into the site. They do not
This
want to
is
deal with that in an
confusing to
open
me.
duel if they can avoid it.
Why Pengu would start
Especially the mental
peeking by
process of
himself.
that, it's more or less you peek, you'd think you hear some shuffling of a shield, all of a sudden it's death to everyone.
I understand he was able to get a
G2,
pick with it. Oh, and
TSM
now
falling
he's
apart the
teammates with
seams
him.
as Pengu is staring down inside of bar right now.
Because
That is not the site,
optimally,
it is
you would
downstairs.
have
These
someone
guys
with you
were
when you
one
push as a
brain cell.
blitz,
Still plenty
because
of
they're
presence.
so
Fabi going to get
focused on
some
the
more
shield.
footprint
It's such
as
an
well, as
easy
it will
way.
be the bandit of
And I
Merc.
believe
Quite a
Uno
bit of
is with him.
battling
And look at
soldier as
that
he dips
pinch.
back into study. Actually takes
Like,
a
if you're
gunfight, does
TSM
quite a
right
bit of
now, you're
damage to Goga
jackal
as well,
tracked, you've got a
but these
blitz
Mercs are
on you,
definitely
you're
not doing him any
people are
due
pinching you
diligence.
from
More than likely
both
that's a rotation. Yes,
sides.
Fabi in rotating down
This
the
is a
line. Is it gonna hit from
brilliant
both ends?
clear.
Well, actually gonna trade it out
This
towards
is a
Uno. Fabi
world-class
takes down
clear,
Merc as
ladies and
Pengu
gentlemen.
is still alive. And the closer this gets to those low-end man counts, this
This
is
is how you
become a lot
clear
easier for Pengu to
roamers.
bully his way onto site.
You pinch
Just
from
1 minute
both
remaining
sides,
here.
you
We
commit
need
to it, you
see TSM
coordinate
muster
and push it
something.
exactly the
Otherwise,
same
it's gonna
time,
be
which you've
the
seen
end.
them
Pengu
do
has the blitz still alive and well,
from
though.
Aviator
And it uses the push
and
into the site
90
relatively
Hallway.
unhindered. You can see he takes
And they
blitz
pushed
and
it
damage,
exactly the
but
same
it's
time.
not
Look at
gonna
that.
matter. So much control
Bolo
over
was
the
so
outcome of the round here.
focused
Goga
there
finishes
on
off
the
Bolo,
shield,
and it
he
leaves
didn't even
only
see
Pojamin
Goga.
alive. He does have a flank capability though to try and move around these players, but it's already been spotted.
And Pojamin was so focused on the shield, he didn't see the crossfire.
Ladies and gentlemen, G2 are moving through once again to the
No
semifinals, and
bit of
TSM,
surprise there
last
to
hope
me
for North America,
that G2
is now
finishes off that
out
map in a
of the
really
event,
strong
eliminating the
style.
entire region along with it.
No one in their entire life can ever be perfect.
I know it was a 2-0 to
G2
G2,
is damn close. It's a very, very impressive game by G2 overall.
but I'll
Everything
tell you
that
what,
tried to throw at them,
TSM
roam
showed
harder,
so
try
much
and get that
potential
aggression, play turtle,
and
clear
is
this
still
area,
showing
clear
so
that.
much potential.
None of it sticking to G2. They walk away 2-0 up against TSM and snuff out
There are
North
some
America's
young
hopes and dreams.
players with a lot of
Space
potential on that
Station
damn
failed
team.
earlier on today, and
And
unfortunately
I do
TSM
hope for their sake that they start to work on some of those issues, because if they start to work on some of those issues with the mechanical skill that they have, undeniable they could be a massive contender in the NAC.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. G2, some great respect coming out from their opponents as well here. as it's always good friends at the end of the day.
Again, overall, I am extremely impressed with TSM. This is their first major as a squad, and to even make it this deep and face against
Chaz is
one
such a
of the
great guy too.
titans
You can
of
see him.
Rainbow Six Siege, and even take rounds off of them. I mean, that's really what
He's
it
about the
matters.
game, you know what I mean?
It's a completely different story.
About the
But
betterment of
even
this
showing
this
some growth inside of your
this
play,
esport, and you
have
can
to be
tell that
happy about it.
Projuman's
But
really
this is on
quite
top of, again, a very
upset by the
convincing
way
group
that
stage
that sort
we
of
saw
went
from these
down,
players.
because the
We'll take a look at
potential
some
was
of the
there.
highlights, of course, from that
A
final
big
round.
thing. He reminds me of
Honest
Sabos a
round
lot
being
too,
won.
because
Very unfortunate turns of events,
Sabos
as we
was
saw there from
oftentimes,
Pengu,
you know, the
as he
main
brings up, to
support,
my
the
knowledge,
maestro,
only
the
blitz pick so far in
you
this
know, the
tournament.
intel
This is the
caller.
only time we've
And
seen that one
when
picked
you're
up
on
so
site
far.
and you're giving all the
Likely
intel
the
and
only time you'll see
you're
it again through
doing
the
your
rest of the
damn
weekend
best
here.
to not peek
I
and
wouldn't hold your breath. It
stay
definitely is
alive
something
and
that could happen. The
be
only
there
other
to
team here
deny
that
the
I could
plan,
think of would be
and then you're
Mets.
left in like
All
a,
right, guys, well, that's gonna do it for us.
1v3
We're
or
gonna
like
take it
a
back down to Golden Boy on the stage, though, with our
2v5
winners interview.
or 4. Like,
Thank you so much,
it's so
gentlemen. Here's
overwhelming for a
Pengu
support
with
player
G2
to
Esports. Ladies and gentlemen.
be in that
What
position
did I do wrong?
that they oftentimes feel like they've failed because their teammates failed.
Fabian, oh my God, I'm so,
So,
sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I
Huge
specifically
shame
asked for Pengu,
that
but, you know,
it
I'm
came to that with TSM, because I expect, given refinement of their team synergy and their coordination and them learning sectioning, which is a huge learning curve for competitive Rainbow Six Siege. Once they learn coordination in conjunction with sectioning, they could be really scary, because their utility knowledge and their game sense on some of the players of that team is extraordinary. So I look forward to seeing how they progress, especially in Pro League. Some real good, strong young talent. Yeah. G2 winning that was as predicted for my predictions, but not because I think TSM are bad, but because G2 is a monster at LAN. They really are. They shine at LAN, and they've always shone at LAN. And they're kind of like what I would say, like they're the experienced group. You know, they're the ones that do things by the book a lot of the times, and you've got a couple of off-meta things here and there that they throw, you know, like some real aggressive plays from Uno. Bringing Uno in was, I think, a real spice to their strategies, to the way that they play. I think it really spiced it up. And then you got Fabian and Pengu and stuff like that, who are real strong at their roles, really knowledgeable, really good, patient, systematic, calculated players. And sometimes you can't get around that unless you're flawless. And TSM dropped the ball too many times to get around that kind of hold. So I do expect G2 to hit the best of 5. And I do also expect TSM to hopefully leave this tournament with some real good VODs, because VODs can be such a really important aspect of seeing your mistakes and then being able to work on them. But also feeling a little proud of themselves because they're a young team. They're an underrated team, I would say, especially in the NA scene. And they come to a major like this, and they do, you know, pretty damn well. They put themselves, you know, top 4. So, good on them. Good on them. Absolutely insane that we get to see this kind of caliber of Siege these days, that the kind of skill has risen so heavily. And someone just made a note in my chat to say, you know, they're a fresh roster. They're a damn fresh roster. 100%. To come in so fresh and do so well is something to applaud a team for. That's why I feel like they should be allowed to have the mistakes that they have. We shouldn't be overly critical on them because they are so young. There are other teams that currently exist who have like rosters who've been together for, or you know, a lot of their roster is their main roster and has been for a while, and they still make the same mistakes they made, you know, last season or, you know, months ago. And that's not okay. You know, if there's a team that can't learn from their mistakes, then what can you do? But I do see TSM even fixing and rectifying some of the mistakes in the game as it's going. So it shows potential. I do want to see how they sort of finish the season and look to work on those mistakes, and whether or not they're able to see that their major issue is team coordination and refrag positioning, as well as sectioning. On defense, it's fidgeting. I don't know what other term to give it other than fidgeting. I do want to give it a better term, because I know that it sounds rather childish to label it as such, but you know, for them to turn around and go, okay, Merc, buddy, you've got to hold of line of sight with another player. You've got to work with another player. You can't solo yourself that much. You can't run around a room when people are holding lines of sight on you. You know what I mean? You've got to be patient. You've got to be confident that you can stand your ground. And I think I'm going to go with standing your ground. TSM need to know when to stand their ground and when not to. And if they can lose that, if they can gain that, then that's gonna be awesome. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in to this live analysis. I won't be able to do one tomorrow, but I might be able to do one Sunday, so we'll see. Thanks for being here, guys, and we will go raid someone, and I will upload this video onto my YouTube at JessGoat. Or if you're watching this on YouTube after, then my Twitch is also JessGoat. So, yeah. And I might be back streaming some Rainbow in the next 20 or so minutes. But otherwise, yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to the analysis. And I will catch you guys later.